Yeah, it defaulted me the Star Mantle map too.
because it's been
Yeah.
worked on. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh,
It defaults
great.
to whenever something has been saved.
It's so nice to look at my dropped frames and just see a constant zero, where previously it was like 60% on the good days.
I'm looking forward to you hooking up your new audio setup again, and then for somehow the frames to vanish.
Yeah, I think that's just cursed, so I won't.
Oh,
I mean, at this point, Windows sounds and random YouTube videos in the background are just par for the course.
I mean, if people stuck with it this far.
Exactly.
No,
well,
that's not how it works, man. Let's.
It would be disingenuous to all the people who stopped watching to now increase the quality.
No, it's like you can be like you can
well,
put a little message in the first video where like, "Hey guys, sorry about the audio quality in video 92." Figured
there were folks who got a certain level of quality back when Jonas and perhaps Valky continued that, and and now they've gotten the sheep zone.
I'm trying. Like,
Oh,
so. Everyone's here.
it's
If
true.
we are online, maybe we should you know get to the
Start.
game.
I would request that I don't do the recap today because I don't think I could do a good one. I'll do the next one.
all right. Narrate your condition for no, we're not gonna have you do the recap. I'll recap again.
Oh,
Unless you're super disappointed and want to recap.
I mean, I took some notes, but they're not the best.
I'll leave it up to you.
I can do the recap. Maybe you can support me if I forget something.
All right.
Um,
I'm a good supporter.
yeah, that's a mystery right there.
Real bard.
Let me pull out my
Yeah.
loot like buttress you in the background.
Yeah, bling bling.
I wouldn't be
Oh.
surprised if you had one.
I have more instruments of combat than I do musical instruments. Please
Nothing
proceed.
wrong. I would accept like a sword swing in the background.
I don't want to do that in my room.
That's fair. Anyway, yeah, again, rough notes, but last time we got the exciting news that in Thunderhome, a Tiamat worshipper was spotted. And Thunderhome is slowly starting to, the gold is great. Tiamat thinks so too. And I mean, greed, isn't that just in dwarves' nature? They shouldn't feel bad about that anymore, right? Like, that's just how it is. And even though the the worship of Tiamat is, I believe, not welcome anymore, they do rule that I guess technically it's not illegal to worship another deity, sort of. In Westgate, the followers of Bane are thrown out, and now the Red Banner host rules centaurs running around the streets, flying the banner, and Sirik being just happy to cause more death and chaos. Meanwhile, Emissary Leaderthir, of course, is in the middle of her, uh, fight. Or, well, she's trying to win over the Enclave, and she is asked through maybe, back ways, whether they could help kidnap the heir of Nathlan, who has been found out to, of course, be spell scarred. Um, After some work, since it turned out that Nathlan was not willing to give up their heir to the Enclave, uh, it did succeed, and Cindermoon tried to perform a ritual to cleanse the air, and Next thing we know, she was wounded, and a Nubanian lion of blue flame now is present in the Gulfmere Forest. And I mean, yeah, that seems troublesome. Afterwards, Novacree, the cunning, ever clever, opportunistic sorcerer, um, started making us little campaign, saying that maybe, you know, Nubanian people, called of Nubanian, should deal with their lion, since it was really them. And it was weird that their god, you know, is now has a blue flame avatar. That seems suspicious. Um, let's see here. Oh yeah. Other news: the Cult of the Dragon is finally considered worthy to join the Dragon Fane, and shortly after, two very very rude black dragons show up. Very rude, wanting to know where the cicatrix perhaps is. Veliknev tells them to, well, I'm gonna not curse here. He tells them that he sees no reason to tell them, since the cicatrix does like the Fane, and he has no reason to give up that information. The cicatrix sends a message that she is, of course, working on acquiring a great treasure worthy of Severus, and the heir to the Black Dread, as he is, of course, called. And, it'll take some time because, of course, it has to be something very, very expensive and awesome. And they seem to leave after that. Well, first, Veniglyph tries to tell them that if they just work together, you know, all the other Black Dragons, they could just throw Cerberus out and stop being bullied and have to pay tax of their treasures. Which they seem to not understand at all because they're Black Dragons. And, they are all about backstabbing and not trusting anyone, being super paranoid. And they seemed intrigued. Maybe one day. Sambia is still warring on Cormier with all their shadow stuff, the worship of Shars. And Cormier is pressed enough to call for aid, which of course means that now there's a time limit, which all the enemies of Cormier are now called and are just throwing themselves to try and defeat Cormier. They do press a bit of land, but they don't quite manage to destroy Cormier. Though the Marked somehow manages to get in the middle of it and rob the Overstorms that, of course, Cormier recently took back. I think. Oh yeah. My last notes are Nathlan is plagued by monsters, smiley face. Because of course their their nice lake and river has been plagued uh, or blessed by the drop of Malar blood. And now they're enjoying the fruits of that labor, together with having a corrupt, spell scarred heir. Veliknev is still working towards some kind of agreement with the dwarves. It, I don't know. That's another thing. I don't, seems not decided. He wants to be on the council. They don't want him on the council. Yeah, and that is my story.
Here's Airy. I don't have any notes. I'll need support. Also, Airy pulls out lengthy scroll, like extending from head to toe. Yes, what happened previous session according to my, rather scant
I
noting.
literally took these notes a quarter before time because it was, wait, isn't it my turn to do the recap? I was so consumed in looking at my mind map and builds and
No, it only would have been your time if Sheep didn't want to do it. Surprise!
Oh, well, you're welcome. Okay, well, no.
Good.
Oh, you'll write that down.
No, okay, the paper that I write down on will disappear, so...
So last time began with me doing the recap.
Yeah.
All right. We have currently got 4 out of 6 goals. I will post them here.
Yes.
Our current goals are obtain the Tome of the Dragon, integrate the Emerald Enclave and the Verdant Eclipse into one, enlist the aid of the Shadowvar to find an alternate route to the ritual site, and mislead the Thayan expedition to reduce their progress.
It's one for each of you.
Yeah. Let's go.
So let's talk about putting some more on there, if you have them.
I think. Yes, I think that is very obtainable, as well as definitely we'll know when it's finished.
All right, that's good from both of you.
Just let me phrase it in my head before I spurt out something you disagree with again. Valinov wants to find...
All right, they don't have any, Manica.
I do! I'm waiting for
What?
Hello?
a sheep.
I can hear you, Sheep. Just
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Valinov wants to find a location for a new lair.
I can't hear Sheep.
What?
I can't hear Sheep, but you can hear me.
What?
One
Grimmith.
moment.
Grimmith. Oh, I don't think you can hear any of us.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
get
gonna
a
say,
rude
wow,
interruption.
that's rude.
Alright. But Valinov wants to find a location for a new lair.
All right.
I don't know how you'll attach a difficulty to that.
Can you hear us now, Grimmith?
Well,
Hello.
you and Ari
From the other side.
Hello?
Sheep.
Can you hear me now?
I sure can.
Okay, that was interesting because I was like, okay, I have a goal, and Grill's like, oh, I guess Sheep doesn't have a goal. What?
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Off to a great start.
At least it wasn't cheap setup, you know? Like,
don't-
no.
I don't even have anything to say. Just kidding. I'm glad he's got a goal.
Actually, Manica, let me specify that goal a bit. Valinov wants to secure one of the floating islands in the west. I forgot what the place is called. The Shattered Plains or whatever. His lair.
Called the Lens Mount.
Yes, that place. That is specifically where Valinov wants to go.
All right. Yeah. Once upon a time, this would have been difficult. At this level, I think that is an easy goal. There's a lot of them, and you're not gonna be scared of harpies. Like, you're gonna say that's an easy goal.
Basically,
Secure.
just have to plant a flag.
I guess supposed to secure an earth moat. Yeah, is that good?
Yeah.
Worthy of layering. Is layering? Can you say that? Is that a? Doesn't seem right.
Worthy of being a lair.
I'll say
Worthy
worthy
of malignant. There you go.
I would also like to move one of them, but I think that might be a future goal.
The dwarves tried and they crashed.
Yeah.
Well, they were dwarfs,
They
not
didn't
a
have a lift
dragon.
at the time.
True.
All right. I have one. I want to explore the lair of Mithranok's Maelstrom of Darkness. I will put that here because I don't
You're gonna have to spell that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Seems like a what explore. Define explore for me.
I guess going there and going through it. Like, I don't know if it's inhabited currently or
All right.
what has happened.
Let's say that is a medium goal. Just
Okay.
it's a little vague, but that's fine. All right. Well, then we're good with that. These will be our goals. I don't know if I normally post them twice, but I'm doing it now. So yeah. And then we can jump into the game. It is a year. The dragons have been waking up since last year, really, slowly beginning to get more and more energy back. And as they perhaps leave their lairs for the first time in a decade, they see a sight that is quite different from what they remember. The northern sky is covered in blackness, and the shadows from trees and rocks and the like fall long upon the ground. The nights are long, and it seems the days have somehow grown shorter. This is the most significant difference, but beyond that, plants don't seem to grow as well. Everything is more grey than it used to be. To most people, this is a slow change that's happened over these 10 years, and they don't really notice it day to day. But for you, it's been somewhat of a stark change from what you remember to now. Everything has just somewhat lost color and life. How do your dragons react to sort of when they're feeling well enough to go out? And are they eager to? Or do they stay in until they feel really well before actually leaving their lairs and around?
I think the Ligneth, as he ascends the path from the interior of the Dragon Fang to once again properly sit on his plateau where he likes to brood, now that he's got his power back. Is mostly annoyed at the situation, like frowning at the darkened sky, because he knows that's something he has to deal with at some point, and usually a new thing that he has to deal with comes with a lot of frustration and inability to actually deal with it. So I think for now he just settles to glare at it menacingly as he sits in the center of his plateau, frowning at it and leaving it at that, really, while he deals with so far more important things than whatever is happening over there. It certainly has an influence here, but that's just, you gotta have priorities, right?
For Emizari Lidrazir, who has left her lair and just been inattentive the time, the first day that she leaves her lair and is attentive, she files us away as, well, Faerun has existed for a very long time, and all sorts of crazy shit have happened before I became alive. The Spell Plague, for example. And there's all sorts of very other powerful entities, including dragons, who are paying just as much attention to what's happening. I have other concerns. I, I want to keep living. And so basically treats it as that. And so she goes on about the affairs that she intended to do when leaving the lair.
Yeah, I think Vesicatrix might have another perspective. She has, kept in touch somewhat with some of her people, and, you know, she looks out and, well, she, first of all, she waits until she is completely well and can be seen outside without being embarrassed. And then, you know, she sees it and she smiles like a shit eating grin. Oh, yes, this means that Cormier's in trouble, and if Cormier's in trouble on their own ground, they can stop caring so much about what's going on here. And Shar? I mean, she has no issue with her. She wants to bring Eternal Night? Go for it. She's a Black Dragon, it'll only help her. Yeah, she is fine with it. And, might even cheer her up a little bit.
There are three distinctive viewpoints. One, believes that I'm going to have to deal with this shit. I always have to deal with everything. One who's like, someone else will deal with this, and one who's like, this is awesome.
I was like, fuck yeah, Char. Just go for it.
I love darkness. My stealth checks work great in darkness.
Who needs colors anyway? They're overrated.
No, in my mind, as a joke, I was like, no, I mean, the signature is like, finally, the world matches my, like, how I see it.
Yeah.
It's all gray and boring. Everything is misery and pain.
They do say in the darkness, any dragon is black.
Well, I mean, that's just not true. But I bet the other dragons would like to think that.
Absolutely not. How dare they? Denigrate me.
Yes. Assimilate. Just paint them black.
Black dragons against eternal darkness because it will devalue their brand.
That means if every dragon is a black dragon, all of them are competing to be the Black Dread.
Oh no.
We know you care about that.
At least that is what all the black dragons would think.
Yeah, I mean, that's my one true goal in life.
Even if you don't want to care, Ari, the campaign is forcing you to care.
No, yeah, I mean, I've already settled, like, part of me is like, no, I don't care. The other part is, I will slay that motherfucker, and then I'll leave the throne, and then they can all fight about it, and I can leave. And, I hope they all die in that stupid swamp.
Shit.
But the other part is like, well, I mean, if you take it, then...
Alright. So, for you folks, day 1, leave. Things look different. Oh, this isn't my problem. And Missouri Leader goes out into the forest to stack bodies like lumber. Because it is... It's just... She needs to have fun again, and that's going to be one of the ways in which she has fun. This merciless cat predator. And her minions, some of whom have never seen her active, because they're new recruits, and others who haven't seen her this way since she started throwing her own minions into the sea 10 years ago. Like, oh, okay. Guess she's done whatever she needs to do to consecrate the temple. All right. It's happening. That's her first day. Day 2 is trying to learn what's happened with her minions while she's been gone. As Nova Cree has been the one who's in charge, and she hasn't disagreed with the idea. It's good to have someone ambitious who wants to make things their problem, but now she needs to understand what Nova Cree has done. Like, you gave me an answer several years ago why I have ships and why we have, like, atolls and things we're keeping an eye on in the sea. But why do we? So she listens to that explanation. She sees new faces. They all tremble before her powerful might and presence. And I think on the 3rd day, that's when she departs, heading for the Dragon Fane, and in what she believes is a suitable punishment, since Nova Cree wanted to take something from her hoard without asking permission, then while she is gone, he is going to be the one singing in front of the stone and keeping an eye on it while she is gone, so that all the other dragons may know, and that he may keep any messages. As such, when she departs, she informs her that he is forced to inform Valignith, preferably personally, if he comes to the stone, that she is on her way to the Dragon Fane.
Wait, Nova Cree is the one singing in front of the stones?
Yes, that is his punishment for having snatched the stone without asking permission.
He's gonna has such a burning throat.
Is he a good singer?
I don't know the answer to that question. But it is not a punishment she will allow him to escape from by putting someone else to do it.
I think it's one of those things that he would reluctantly do. But looking at his statistics, he would be an incredible singer. He's a very good charisma.
Given his natural Eladrin aptitude, he's like, fucking fine.
Alright. I mean, so like, Valigneth is the one listening to the stones all the time.
Sure, she doesn't know that, so it's just one day, like suddenly.
Visicatrix being new to the sending stones, like, how do I turn it off? Like a grandma, like, oh, what is this?
And when asked, I'm sure Novacree will inform in his own way that the great and powerful dragon of Missouri Fear is heading to the Dragon Fane. To speak with you, oh, omnipresent and ever malicious Valigneth, or some sort of, like, fawning and scraping way.
I should mention, since Missouri does hunt these years, you will find that the animals are much more difficult to hunt. Even the herd animals or prey animals that just are like deer and stags and such are faster, bigger, and more vicious than before.
Oh, that's delightful.
She also noticed that some hunters who maybe aren't great are a little lean these days.
Oh,
And her minions will even inform her that near Nathlin there's been they're having trouble because well, I mean, one instance, a herd of goats killed the shepherd, broke the fences, and marched proud upon the land.
that is absolutely delightful. Oh, domesticating animals, the domesticators being punished. Oh no. This is no, that means that hunting is more fun now.
Yeah.
It used to be just like a task you have to do to eat, but now this actually sounds like it could be exciting.
They act slightly more intelligently, as if they know, how to counter their enemy.
Oh,
They're much more challenging.
great.
Suppose Emmy arriving at the Fane would, of course, spot Valigneth easily, as he
Yeah.
tends to sit, well, in the center of the Fane in the open,
Yeah.
surrounded
Um,
by his two dwarven lieutenants, actually. Apparently doing some planning, just talking, really.
As the body comes streaking in, this powerful, we'll say it's an eagle, which as she arrived in, on her last trip. And as it draws close to the rim of the Dragon Fane, it twists and quickly forms into that of the green-gray dragon. Lands, looking down inside the Dragon Fane.
Not at Valigneth.
Well, Valigneth fucking sits in the center of the Dragon Fane, so
No, on the plateau, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Looks at the Dragon Fane. Looks at the dragon.
Will send his lieutenants away with a wave of a claw. Sort of a lingering look towards Emmy before he tilts his head slightly and says, "Why exactly do you fly as an eagle? What? Why?"
Missouri leader here says, I have left this territory. It is no longer in my possession.
And who are you worried would spot you? And why should they have problems with you passing over this area?
He says, all would see and recognize my magnificence.
Well, they should, shouldn't they?
I do not wish others to know where I go.
Suppose that's fair.
You and I should be going. Now, haven't we been cooped up too long? Let us traverse these mountains, Valigneth. See what might have changed. See whether there are any travelers.
Are you going to be an eagle?
He says, I will be Emisere Leader.
I won't point out the odd juxtaposition with your previous reasoning why you were flying as an eagle, but yes, let us. This villain will, I suppose, take off.
Emisere Leader will fly, putting forth the minimal effort required to keep up with him. As they can go cruising around the Giants Run Mountains. Having a look-see. And maybe socializing. Though, I'm not sure, Sheep, how they two banter. Well, we've got plenty of evidence of how they banter.
I think Villinger would mostly just point out the development he has been pushing towards in the valley, which of course is his idea with the deal of the silver mine, that he wants to use it as leverage to get into Thunderhome's politics and things like that, and mostly just silent afterwards, as he seems to mostly be eyeing Emmy and her reason for coming here, because
Emisere is intrigued, Valignith is turning over like this whole sort of like subtle, like sort of like manipulation thing. This is cool because he's always been the non-complicated one, and like him pursuing complexity, she feels as if that's something to be proud of. Maybe all this time spent with her has finally impacted him in a positive way.
So, Emmy, what brings you here exactly?
Set a scene currently like looking through like a crevasse, make sure there's no like hiding like people who are looking to like excavate or be archaeologists here, and says, well, Valignith, as I have been reminded, this area must be a concern for us. Given Yaffel's presence, what she has done. And so I am here, because I am forced to be.
I remember quite recently when I made exactly that argument, you suggested we leave and never show ourselves as to not draw attention to this place.
She says, yes, I do still feel that way. But that would require the dragons to leave. I don't believe you have left. I do not believe Recicatrix has left.
I do have intentions to move away a bit, although of course the Dragonfane will stay.
Of course. To where do you plan on moving?
You remember to the west where Officerelix used to have his lair.
He says, yes, do you plan on his island?
Absolutely not. But I've heard plenty of rumors from the dwarves and other places that those earth modes might contain very valuable things indeed. Not treasure or anything, but things that could fetch a good price on markets once processed.
She squints, like trying to imagine like processing. And that's not something that's a concern to her. Says, so you will... All right. Perhaps I have heard tale of islands that fly around and have powerful lairs upon them. Shall you live in such a mobile location, raining fire and doom upon the land?
That would be nice, but I'm not entirely sure how plausible that is. The dwarves have tried to move those islands before with mixed success, let's put it that way.
Well, it is good you are better than a dwarf.
Absolutely, however, it's still worthwhile to at least consider the lessons they think they have learned.
Says, I agree. Speaking of prior lessons, in time, more excavators will come here, as we have seen and dealt with before, searching for clues that will lead them to long-lost Yaffle. Without our diligence or our efforts, they will undoubtedly find those signs. I want to remove those signs. However, as I have considered over the past decade, I'm not sure how those signs look. Despite our own teachings and what we've had to experience, she squints, I don't really understand these Thayans, but I believe you have people who do.
I think I do.
He says, to that end, I intend on sending a choice selection of minions here to, with the aid of these inhabitants of yours, scour the mountains for signs of Yaffle and change them, perhaps directing any future investigators to the Ostrown Mountains instead. That Yaffle being here was but a ruse, and wanted to... The true power and activity she was doing was in that mountain range instead.
Your approach reminds me of someone you've killed. Changing history to your liking and such.
He says, it is good to take the lessons of those who failed into account. Right? She smiles at Valignith.
I suppose. I don't want to reopen that particular topic of our past.
I think
But
a
it
pettier
amused me
Emizere
regardless.
would say, you brought it up, but this lighthearted Emizere just like waves her claw and dismisses the topic. And says, splendid. I can converse with your inhabitants directly, but as far as I'm concerned, they are in your territory and thus yours. Uh, when my minions come, you can merely interface the two groups together so that they may scour these mountains for signs of Yaffle. It is understandable and perhaps unavoidable that these inhabitants of yours will come to see these signs and interpret them and get some grasp of what Yaffle was doing here and why. How you approach that situation, I leave in your care.
I have some concerns, although they are in the rather long term, at a point where hopefully we've properly solved the situation. So it should be okay. There's certainly more benefit in the short term than there's risk, I think.
Splendid. And that can buy us all the time we need for my other idea. It's telling that Emizure Leaderveer's head like rotates to look off in the direction of the Dragonfane is, even if it's not visible. Almost like a nervous twitch. Where she looks back at Valignith.
I am fully expecting to hear something that will reveal your true intentions at any point now. You've been far too reasonable and nice so far.
He scoots a bit closer to the bulky, powerful red dragon. Like peers at his face and says, "What if we could be free?"
That is preferable to our current situation. Do you have any actual approach?
Yes. Infernal contract law, dictated in an age long ago. Yaffle could only trade us, could only offer us to Asmodeus by owning us. Asmodeus only wants us, well, because we are powerful. But if we could offer Hell something better, something more powerful, it would be enough for even Hell to break its contract with Yaffle. For it is written and told that even Hell can do that if they're willing to suffer the consequences. We just have to offer Asmodeus something better.
We'll hold eye contact for a bit.
She holds eye contact with him too. There's a tinge of desperation. He's good enough at reading her at this point. She seems mixed on whether she wants him to talk her out of this.
It has a bit of a draconic frown, perhaps a slight growl. Although that it seems quickly suppressed, as he says, "I suspect you know very well that I'd rather walk into hell than declare that I am, in fact, free and no contract binds me. Most likely messing up hell a bit in the process so they don't try anything like that again with any of our kind in the future. However, of course, that plan is not nearly as plausible currently as I would like it to be."
Yes, given that the immensely powerful nature of Asmodeus, there are many agents that have undoubtedly tried to unseat him over the unfathomable years before we existed, and have failed. Perhaps your idea could work if we had the freedom to pursue it.
Perhaps. I do think the biggest challenge to that particular plan is the hesitation of my potential allies. However, it's not the discussion I want to start right now. To your plan, though, it sounds nice and all, but what could be valuable enough for Hell to break its contract? And how would we obtain it?
During our innovation in the Gulfmere Forest and its surrounding environs, the heir of Naflan was blessed by Nobanyan himself. Nobanyan, of course, she peers at Velignith, you will have some memory of. This heir of Naflan's blessing comes in the form of a grotesque spellscar. Spellscars, of course, I'm sure you have some memory of. The leader of the Emerald Enclave, during our lethargy, came back to this region and saw upon it to investigate the heir of Naflan, where she decreed that the heir has thus been scarred, and thus outlawed the worship of Nobanyan in the region. In addition, the druids of the Emerald Enclave also obtained... and then she pauses and her eyes flit away, without my knowledge. And it's true, because she didn't know this was going to happen. The heir of Naflan and the head of the Emerald Enclave performed a ritual to... I'm not exactly sure what. What happened is that the heir of Naflan returned back to the capital unharmed, I am told. And in his place, an avatar of Nobanian swept into the Gulfmere, where it prowls and dwells even now. A force so immense that it wounded even the head of the Emerald Enclave. A force so powerful that the head of the Emerald Enclave argues that it contains the divine essence of Nobanian. That divine spark is far more worth our souls.
It does sound to me like it would easily be able to just kill all of us, wouldn't it?
He says, it does sound like it would be able to kill us, yes.
And that would be exactly the opposite of what we want.
It would be the opposite of what we want.
I don't know, that's a big risk.
She says, I wasn't saying that we go do it today.
I'm mostly just trying to make fun of the... Of course I will help you with your plan if you think it will succeed.
He says, no, you're not taking ownership of the idea. This is my suggestion on how we can be free.
This divine spark you're wanting to trade, which supposedly is more valuable than all of us, it is not something we could use.
Supposedly?
Obviously,
How can...
supposedly. I haven't seen
What?
it yet.
And she sort of like, she like recoils, like... Truly, the arrogance of red dragons presents itself. For you to believe that you are better than any divinity. That your portfolio consists of always of your perpetual greed and smugness. She shakes her head. Well, I could take you and show you. I've not personally beheld it myself. I only have the word of those I trust in the matter. And of course you could not trust mine.
I do trust your words. I'm just saying that if we have the chance to get our claws on something as valuable and powerful as you're saying, there might be multiple ways to use it.
Why would you immediately think of it as a way to try and cheat hell? It is a way for us to get our souls back and be free. I don't want to trick Asmodeus. Why do you?
I don't mean to trick him either. Ideally,
listen, if I thought Malar could free us, I would not have this conversation with you. If I thought Tiamat could free us, I would have a different conversation. Malar teaches me to empower myself, and Tiamat, I think her greed is well known. Neither of them could influence infernal contracts the way that Asmodeus himself could.
Your plan does sound plausible, assuming that we can, in fact, down this thing. So I'm not against it.
All we need is possession of it, ownership, as that affords the right and ability to trade it. In time, I believe I can convince the head of the Emerald Enclave to assist with this, because she is so adamantly opposed to the blue fire, to Spellscarred, that it would be the best way for her to get rid of it. Needs must. That is how she would justify it to herself.
And with her help, you assume that we are powerful enough to actually defeat this thing.
We, in time and with preparations, yes. Again, not something that must be done now, but preferably before Yaffle dies again.
Well, tell me what you need and you'll have it.
She says, I don't know yet. It is perhaps an avatar of the god which is containing his dying essence. I couldn't say exactly. I probably wouldn't be able to say even if I personally beheld it. It prowls through the Gulfmere forest, hunting and slaying, and scarring. I do not know what it is like to try and slay or contain an essence of a god. But it has to be done anyway. Your question of what god it will go to. In this case, I would prefer the one that could actually do something about the contract that binds us.
Me too.
Too long, we have been beholden to other dragons whose fates we cannot influence or control. We can only hope that the Queen of Air and Darkness does not do something worse to Tilraxos, and we can only hope that Veristrix remains alive somewhere deep within the dark, if he has already not been caught and obtained in some fashion already. This freedom includes removing the dependence on dragons we can no longer help or protect. And for as much as I would like to see Tilraxos again, I do not want our lives, yours and mine, to be dependent on some fairy queen's whim. I want to be free. But that free probably comes out with like a lot more like energy and desperation than I can currently manage.
Yes, I understand, Emmy, and I emphasize your plan is the most plausible we have at the moment. Might ever have, to be honest. But I'm sure there's at least a part of you that doesn't just want to be free, but also wants yourself to be the reason why you're free, rather than trading for some deal and then once again relying on some other force to do it for you.
He shakes her head. No, this would be us causing that.
Not
If we are,
directly, though.
just yes, directly. We're actually taking ownership over ourselves, which we've never had at any point.
Wouldn't it be nice if we couldn't only cut ourselves free from things we can't control, but rather control the things we can't control? Or at least oppose them.
He says, I can't oppose hell. Neither can you. The three of us united couldn't oppose hell. Forces greater than ours have attempted to oppose hell. Directly. And have failed. As a matter of fact, there is a blood war ongoing. You may have heard.
Forces greater
Yes,
than us
in your
never
eye.
had us.
She laughs and says, we are not so mighty in the grand scheme of things. Perhaps we would have been, were we not already dead when Yaffle breathed life back into us.
Perhaps. You're right, though. Let us be free, and then what comes after, well, can always do
Yes.
more.
That's right. I don't think I want to contact. She like pauses, like twitches, like I thought about if we dragons got behind the notion to reach out to something from hell, but I think we should maybe wait till we actually have the ability to make a deal before we try that.
If you think so, you're certainly the one with most, perhaps not experience, but tendency to think about hell in a way that doesn't cloud your judgment.
She her body like visibly like cringes and says, "Yeah, yeah, it doesn't cloud my judgment." Not convinced of that at all herself. All right. Well, having that conversation means that we can speak about this at some point with Cicatrix, who I'm sure wants to be free as well, if only so that she may pursue her vengeance unhindered. A different kind of vengeance than I think you have it by.
Wouldn't call what I want vengeance, but
Righteousness?
I don't know what the right word is, but it's not as simple as just one word, I don't think.
He peers at Valigna's face again and says, "Yeah, I understand." So I'll stay at the Fane for a few days. Uh, only other the request I have of you is that you permit me to use your sending stone. I would like to inform my minions to begin making the trip.
I see no reason why I shouldn't allow you to do that.
Delightful. Shall we head back then? He says, like casting like a nervous glance like in the direction of the Fane once more. I think for Lignath, given his familiarity, it seems clear that she didn't want to discuss this while at the Fane.
We should head back, yes. Have you considered what, if anything, we should do about the threat below the valley yet?
He says, "No, I, I don't even know how it would be impacted if we were to become free. I don't know a lot of things." She kind of like sputters out into like just.
I'm just asking because you seem suddenly far more willing to oppose things that you are not entirely sure how powerful they are, in fact, but those two things, I suppose, aren't entirely related, and it's true, if we were to be free, then we could simply leave the valley, properly leave the valley, and then whatever lurks beneath surely isn't our problem anymore.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. And with that, she takes off flying for the Dragon Fane.
How far did the dragons go? I take it they just flew south over the valley, or
She wanted to travel across the mountains themselves.
the whole thing?
Yeah,
Right. So it's a long trip. Well, especially for Velignith compared to Imizure, but twice as the long trip, given the flight speed.
More than twice.
Things look as they usually have. It's dry mountains. There's the broken tip of one. There's the open air over the tallest mountain still. The dwarves have worked on the old broken watchtower quite a bit in the distance. It's taller now and has like a banner hanging there. A couple of their mounted flying cavalry can be seen doing their exercises. While further south, across the Dead City and such, it seems like it hasn't really seen a lot of visitors. The mine, though, at this point has a steady path and sort of bricked road leading back so that they can transport the copious amounts of metals they're extracting. If they're working on high productivity to get as much out of it as possible, really.
The money.
While further south, it's clear that the various tribes and such have been pushed. You'll see some hunting far outside their normal range. Perhaps the giants are putting the screws to them for food.
Okay. Yeah. And it would make sense that and as far as like the shading of plants is concerned, there wasn't that much in these mountains anyway.
It was
Also,
pretty dry. There's some
yeah,
like tiny bushes and such, but most of the lakes up here are free of plants, simply too high up to really have them. They're very incredibly still, and every now and then you see sort of a stacked stone cairn or something at the edge of one.
of course. We remember that site all too well. All right. Missouri's not going to bring up the whole like changing like day shit that at all with Malignith. Like that is as I convey that she's very much filing that under someone else more powerful than me is more concerned about that and will do something about that.
Mhm.
That's what happens at Road.
How is Vesicatrix waking up? Waits basically until fully rested. So I suppose it takes longer than for the others. But
Yeah, I mean, she has her lieutenants report to her. You know, and she is maybe while slowly waking up, cradling the orb of storms, looking at it. It's what a trophy, stolen from Cormier's own hands. A true mockery, and yeah,
yeah, it just sort of is a big orb with like a cloud and thunder. Somehow silent in there. Though if you put your head to it, you can almost feel the rumble of the power within. One of these days, though, the the hag will visit the lair, which she hasn't done really. She very much stays away from Vesicatrix when Vesicatrix is sleeping. Doesn't like visiting the dragon. It's all, yeah, even for the hag, a nasty place to be. All the acid and the weapons hanging from like threads in the air and such. It's you know the hag
well,
thinks you're a monster, I suppose,
I mean,
and knows
touche.
too well the power of these dragons.
Yeah.
Everyone has always been cautious.
I mean, if they sent like a person, the Cicatrix will actually go visit them.
Oh, she's coming herself
Oh wow. Okay. The Cicatrix will look paranoid at her. Oh no, this must mean bad news. Definitely.
with her staff. She will lug Jigatrix with her sort of mad eyes and speak. Cicatrix, I hope you have slept well. I have had a dream, a vision, with the Coven. One that I think is rather grander than most. Often, my dreams are something I seek out. But sometimes the world responds to questions I did not even know I had asked. Sort of pauses, looking at her cigarette.
Is that the Cicatrix like without noticing slowly like moves a little closer, eager, like nodding her head.
Since the
Completely,
plague,
moving her gaze actually from the orb of storms to this being.
since the plague, the world has been shattered. It shudders, twists, and tries to repair itself, but many changes have happened, and I believe soon, or I suppose relatively soon, we are reaching the crescendo, the height of these changes. I had a dream with the others. One that scarred them somewhat. But I am powerful enough to have taken only superficial blows. I saw a black night with no stars. Under them were children wrapped in black silk. I saw their eyes black as night, and yet from beyond them, from within their eyes, a light shone, beginning to banish the darkness. I saw them awake from a quiet slumber. What awoke them in the distance, moving through the darkness as if it was a bridge, or as if it was oil, a blue flame knowingly seeking out the children, awaiting to burn them, hungry for what they contain within. But they were not just children, for at the same time as they were babes, they were also old, far older than I. They were gods, many bearing scars of the spell flame that forced them into exile from this world, lest it consume them. Some survived under the wings of others. Some did not survive. Some had to flee. Yet the fire seeks them, and as the darkness covers the land, it will find them. They now have no choice but to await, even if their power is nascent, is weak. They stir and twist, seeking some way to return to this world before it is too late. They will find a way. And when they come, they will be weak. Weak, scared, vulnerable. Within the darkness, I saw many hungry eyes. I saw their rivals, the Dark Mother, who clouds the world. She desires their power greatly. She will hunt for them. But I also saw other eyes. Eyes that have seen other worlds, from beyond our realms. The eyes of the flaming hunger. Darkness has allowed them in, and they too wish to burn anything, any power. They have tasted the flesh of gods, and they want more. She nods slowly. The world stirs. It prepares to resist them. It struggles to. For somehow it knows that if they succeed, there will be nothing, not even ashes, left. What it means? I have not the experience to know. But something grand will happen. One way or the other.
This flame you speak of, is it the blue flame, flame hunger from other worlds?
She nods.
I was under the understanding that it was a. I did not know that it was from another plane.
I don't know not where it is from, but I know that it seeks to spread, like an infected wound in the blood. You could not I think, call it a being or an intelligence. Whatever it is something else.
So will target the weaker deities who were hurt when the plague started.
Acts of Psychiatrics, unable to really sort of elaborate much beyond what was said.
I thank you for this knowledge. To your mind, do you think the Shar's cloud of darkness has caused this to come faster? Or is it merely coincidence?
Head slightly and says, I do not know the reasons. I merely see the sight. Interpretation can vary. What I do know is that in this instance, it and she desire much the same thing.
So well,
Perhaps you could understand being in a position where vengeance would be worth any price.
her eyes narrows. Are you
The hag
talking
doesn't
for
flinch.
Hmm?
The hag doesn't flinch as she looks at Psychiatrix.
No, I mean, this is are you talking about Shar or for the undergods who were taking the flame? Maybe.
The Night Mother has much to want vengeance upon.
You
And if
think
she
that
must
she will ally
see,
with the flame?
looks at Psychiatrix. In her place, would you? I cannot answer the question. I do not know.
Well,
I will ask you, however, Psychiatrix. If your worst enemy is in a burning house, will you rescue them to stop the fire?
well, I could, as long as I could then do with them as I please, put them in another burning house. She struggles to follow the very simple it does not the capacity of such an analogy compared to her hatred is like a burning house, a burning what like
The hag will just nod, slowly. I must rest my mind. These things are strong in the air.
I appreciate you sharing this. I have considered taking contact to the worshippers of Shar. I'm not sure how much they would care to elaborate upon such theories, though. Anyhow,
She doesn't really have much more to say. She doesn't want to
Yeah.
insult the dragon, or she's learned too much to banter for too long. She'll
Yeah, still
expect herself
still
to return to her
allow her
city.
to leave, you know.
Mm.
Nodding, showing her appreciation. You know, maybe they'll be sent some living slaves down to the lake later. You know, they need food to recover, probably.
Yeah, people are hard to come by these days.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe there's some recruits that haven't behaved. Yeah, I mean, she will ponder upon this. Look, you know, look to the clouds. Go out and look to the clouds again. Suddenly a little more paranoid. Maybe it isn't all good. But I mean, surely if they want the same thing, I mean, they can't both get the power, right? So yeah, yeah, she will rock the halls of her there restlessly, thinking about this.
Good.
Perfectly happy when she woke up. Now she's like, shit.
Well, she's like, yeah, this seems more complicated than I thought.
There is. Will she go outside finally?
Yeah, no, she's outside.
Right. Her people won't really notice it. Again, it's been 10 years, gradual change. But she will notice that there's remarkably more insects here than when last she remembered. Particularly what seems to be like sort of an amber-colored sort of bees that are buzzing around.
Bees.
Yeah, it appears to be sort of amber bees, yeah.
I think that's a very foreign concept to her, almost like he's from a swamp, like mosquitoes, you know, some gross blood-sucking creatures, but bees.
Yeah, I mean, her people don't seem particularly bothered by them. Maybe there's
The
like
paranoid.
like a carcass of a horse or something that's been butchered, right? So you'll see them like cover its the bloody bits on the ground and such.
She frowns. You know what? I'm gonna roll a nature check. Would she know like that bees don't usually eat meat? I don't know.
Sure.
Why? Like she's a dragon. Why would she care about a bee? But like that seems
Taps into her ancestral druid dragon memory.
like. Uh, oh, she's had a lot on her mind. It's not, and
Yeah,
it's not bees.
It does make sense the paranoid dragon is now like, should these be here?
Yeah, it's like what are these?
different.
Like,
Why is it different?
yeah,
I don't
well,
understand.
I think she's looking at them and she's like,
Do they do
what are
flowers?
they?
Are there
Yeah.
flowers here? Like, there's gotta be flowers here, right?
16.
Well, normally bees are, yellow creatures that make honey that people then like to eat. Some people keep bees. She doesn't really know anything about like she doesn't know anything special about bees. She knows what normal people would know about bees, you know.
Okay, so she knows that they're not supposed to be eating dead holes.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, but who knows? It could be a different species of bee flies do it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, she hasn't heard of bees that do that, I guess is the answer.
I mean, maybe they're just different flies, right? Like flies, bees. She'll file in her mind. She doesn't like it's different. Why is it different?
Hmm.
Uh, The attitudes of the dragon show themselves there.
Yeah. Like,
And Missouri
why?
is like, not my problem. Where Cicatrix is like, why is this different? And Valignus is like, I will
Why
have to do
is the
something about
blue
this.
different? It was just like, this is a greater thing. I don't care. The Cicatrix notices a bee is different. And she's like freaking out. Like, oh no.
Imagine the cause. Malignus, Emmy, we have to meet. It is urgent.
It's urgent.
Missouri's got like the sending stone, like his like Novacrease like singing it, like, Hey,
Different-
Valignus.
They're a different color.
As long as they're not blue, you know? Good. Purple.
Blue bees.
It's a blue flame. I mean, then we're real trouble.
I love bluebees.
No. Alright, well, the paranoid dragon, you know, is being a paranoid thing as you'll spit at
Does she
it.
immediately go back inside?
Yeah. She melts the horse corpse and all the bees and then she goes back inside.
They leave sort of a sweet smell in the air as they melt.
Like honey?
Yeah, like it's kind of pleasant.
Huh. She still doesn't trust them. Maybe they can make incense out of those.
Oh shit.
she'll,
Great.
she'll go back inside. Grumble. Horrible world.
Alright. I think where Cicatrix will finally be spared and the whole Sending Stone thing, assuming that she hasn't thrown that into a shallow pool or something. When Valignith and Missouri Leaderthier return back to the Dragon Fade, get his Sending Stone, Missouri will inform Novacree that after consideration, she has decided to spare him the rest of the punishment. He is to gather up a selection of minions, tailored to specifications, like travel through the mountains or whatever. I don't need to go through specifics, and then head for the Dragon Fang immediately. Then ta-da! Yeah, and Missouri will stay at the Dragon Fang for a few days, and then she'll polymorph and head back. She doesn't intend to wait until her minions show up. She figures Valignith can handle any direction that's needed.
Probably can.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you need to have a conversation with the Thayan Exiles sheep about, I don't know, like, how difficult it will be to get them in line with this goal.
It will only require a conversation if they have any disagreement. Valignith would literally just tell them, hey, you're gonna work together with a few minions. You know best what Thayan signs look like, and I don't want, any in this valley. I don't want anything the Thayans can go on. And they will be told what they have to look out for, and the rest they can figure out themselves.
All right.
Well, Thayan Mage has some questions. It's been a while for the first thing. They've sort of been here doing things by themselves, but it's been a while since they've sort of had direct contact. And the first question will be, why would there be signs here? What sort of signs should we look for? If we know why they would be here, it would be easier for us to clean them up.
The valley is the location of a ritual that involves myself, done by someone the Thayans really want to find. I assume you can emphasize with someone not wanting their footsteps to be traced.
She'll give a curt nod and say, if they found us, they would definitely kill us. we would be a high priority target for them. A ritual, you say?
I did say that.
Might I ask for an elaboration? This could be why me and my compatriots arrived here as well.
The details of the ritual are complicated. They concern myself, which makes it even more complicated. The less you know, the better. If you need to know something to assist in your work, then I may be able to answer your questions. But if you're simply asking to get more information that you wouldn't need for this task, then why, I would get rather upset if you keep prying.
He nods and thinks for a long moment. Would it be too much for you to tell me what the ritual relates to? It would help me know what type of magic I should be looking for. And, I suppose, replicate in other places.
The ritual involves, I suppose it's a kind of innovation coupled with the ability to force reincarnation of a sort. Those keywords should be enough for you to go on.
He gives slight frowns. It sounds a lot like necromancy.
Most definitely. Also, do be aware that said ritual is compromised by a. Well, it's difficult. A king of stone giants below the valley preparing to take over the world with an army of undead stone giants. That, however, is unrelated to your task.
Her eyes narrow slightly as she just nods. This is getting very complicated. She understands. So, in short, you want me to find evidence of Thayan actions within these mountains and then getting rid of them.
Yes.
And I understand then that one of the liches of Thay has already been here attempting to find this information.
Oh, yes. I believe you know his current location.
Then I suppose I will try. Yes.
Do keep in mind that the more successful you are, the less you have to worry about more things showing up in the valley for that reason, so it is in your best interest too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Says, you do not have to motivate me. I did not come here. I did not survive all the things I have encountered to fail at something like this. I'm doing my utmost at every single turn because I understand very well, Igneth, that I have one chance. And this is the one I'm going with. You are the one I'm going with. She sort of looks at him, sort of shakes her head, and says, if I could not put my faith in the will of a dragon to live and succeed, then what could I put my faith in? And your success will be my success. And I suppose also the other way around.
I certainly enjoy your choice of words.
Well, I suppose I should begin. These mountains are large. I would like some of your people, if possible, to inform me of what you know of them, so that I don't walk myself into some... She sort of shakes her head. Something I could not deal with. Something that could surprise me.
Of course, you shall get all the information we have about this valley.
Sure. Good. She'll be on it. looking for evidence and trying to remove it. And maybe learn from it too. I mean, you're gonna understand it if you.
Yeah,
And so I understand correctly. At the moment, it is simply scrub them clean.
yes.
Which is not what Imizure wanted, but it's what she's getting.
Anyone to do. All right. Yep. You'll look for anything that seems interesting and then destroy it. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
Mostly, the first thing will be going to look for where the other expeditions have stayed, then taking care of those sites so that it doesn't look like they have stayed there.
That is what Veliknov wants.
Yeah. Good. I'll be doing it.
Then Veligna's going to have to give Novacree and the minions he's chosen then direction. Because what she informed them over the sending stone was that they were going to have help finding and then editing, like, signs of Thayan expeditions to lead them to the Osfrown Mountains.
I guess Veliknov will do a bit of a meeting with Novacree to inform him about things. And he will say that you will have all the assistance you need. However, consider the priority to remove the signs rather than edit them, because it is much easier to make a mistake when placing false information than it is to simply destroy something. The primary purpose of all of this is to make it hard for them to connect the valley to anything, not necessarily to send them away. However, if you can think of a foolproof way to indeed place a piece of false evidence, then by your own discretion you may decide to do so.
All right. I think this needs a roll. We need to see how effective this whole thing is. Now, definitely influence would be one of the skills, and I am wondering what one of the stats here. I wonder what the other one would be. Might could make sense sending people out to sort of physically have the manpower to go do something. I think since you have the help here from the other Thayans, the true Thayans, as it were, Thayan rebels. I don't think treasure would be needed. Normally, you'd want to hire experts and whatnot, but I don't think that's so relevant when you have those people already. Could argue territory, but you're not actually in your territory, nor are you drawing upon that resources. Sovereignty could be relevant just for how well do people actually listen to you.
Sovereignty does seem the most relevant, as Velignith is trying to get the Thayans, like everyone in cooperation, not to look too closely at things.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, but it was not specifically forbidding them to look into things, but he's not going to tell them himself. But the Dragon Thane historically is just a group of a whole bunch of different people with pretty much their own agendas, all of them.
Yeah. So I think we're settling on influence sovereignty.
All right.
As essentially just a extraction of how well can the Dragon Thane reach out and do this.
Influence sovereignty.
Now, I won't even put a minimum here. Instead, it's going to be a setup. Basically, you're setting up a difficulty that a future Thayan would have to overcome to try to find.
Do I get any bonus from from Novacree and such?
I'd say that you could the Verdant Eclipse could support.
Sure.
Maybe a
But
roll
Novacree,
to increase my influence.
yeah, I'll roll to increase your influence. Do that. Go ahead and reset the stats to it being the start of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expending manpower to do this. This is very much going to be a might and sovereignty to increase your influence.
Makes
I
sense.
am missing out on minions for this gear. None sovereignty. That'll be 7 dice. That's a no. And 6 dice. That's a yes.
All right.
I'll subtract my might by 2.
Then that gives me 7 dice for this roll. Double 2.
Right, so you're establishing a difficulty of 2.
Well, that is slightly better than not having a double.
It's a success, you know. As they look around, finding things. This is in a way also an information gathering, chance for the mages, and they really don't find that much in this case. They mostly manage to succeed at scrubbing the 2 sort of primary locations where the Thayans have stayed. You will say that there's probably more within these mountains. The mountains are rather large, and it is hard to sort of scour them for everything. You don't really know where to go, what to go on. They have some divination spells and such they can cast to try to find it, and in time they can do more. That said, there is some signs that Thayans have gone down into the mountains, like deep within the core of them. And she doesn't really want to go there. That doesn't seem like a wise choice.
It would be very unwise, in fact. I agree.
Yeah. Beyond that, getting close to the southern bit of the mountains, there's a rather aggressive ogre and orc tribes, which, she could deal with, but she doesn't want to because, it's troublesome, problematic. Well, they seem to aggressively sort of expand their territory these days.
Yeah, just do your best in like the immediate vicinity.
Scrub some dust under the carpet. Yep, she's on it. Does anyone have any other immediate things they want to do, or should I just continue with things happening?
Nothing urgent, although I do have something that needs to be done sooner rather than later.
And that sounds like that's nothing urgent, but you have something that needs to be done sooner rather than later.
All right, let me rephrase that. I want to do sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, if Manakite... Is that permission for Manakite to go through initiative or not?
I mean, it depends.
On what?
I have something I want to do, but I don't need to do it now.
Okay, I mean, I could have stuff happen, sure. Emisure will get information this year since she spent basically time here, checking out who's the movers and shakers in the Gulfmere forest. I'll also say that counts a little bit ahead. You're good to ear to the ground. A green dragon has been sighted in the eastmost part of the forest here, by the settlements, the Termish sort of colonies over here. Have spotted a green dragon flying above. It would appear that they think it's Emisure, for the most part. But yeah, it has apparently flown out over the forest as if having a look around, really.
All right. Don't think she's going to do anything more with that action. Dragons don't inherently need to go into like other realms of dragons to start shit.
Yeah.
The east is very far away. I mean,
Yeah.
she can't just always be in the eastern part of the Gulfmere Forest.
Mm-hmm.
She'll keep an eye on it.
The Dragonfane will have a visit from a fire giant and some ogres, who will basically ask if Velignith has any plans for raiding or some sort. They would like to get in on that if possible, because turns out they need people who can maintain stonework and keep like their stone bridge from collapsing, and actually a lot of the things they have require a lot more maintenance than they had noticed they would. And the fire giants are not going to do that, so they are in need of people who can do that sort of work. Now, they don't really make money, so they're not going to pay anyone, which means that they need to capture people that they can make do the work. Beyond that, they would like to find someone who could, have a farm or grow mushrooms or something. They're not sure, but they need to eat, and they need to have equipment, and they need to have their forts and such in good repair. The orcs certainly don't really do a great job of it, so. They haven't been much outside these mountains for a long time. They're soldiers, and they figure, well, what they do is they conquer and take stuff, so. They've heard these dwarves of Thunderhome. Dwarves are good at building things and constructing things and growing mushrooms, so if he is looking for a fight there, then they would like to go capture some dwarves.
No,
Take over the whole place and live there.
there are no raids in the immediate future for the Dragonfane. Besides, it sounds like you are asking for a favor, which usually means that something is given in return.
By example, not uncivil. If you could solve our problems, then what would you want in return?
It's a good question. I don't think you can do much for me, unfortunately.
Would there be a problem if we took something from the dwarves?
Yes, there would be.
He looks sort of like this. This is not how it used to be, certainly.
I do believe that there was talk by General Victus herself about cooperation between the three factions in the mountains. It seems to me like that's no longer on the menu.
That nods and says if they would work for us, maintain stonework, do hard labor, and, well, provide food, then there would be. We simply did not think that anyone who considers themselves a dignified being would do such labor for someone else, unpaid.
So, have you considered. I can't believe that I'm the one saying this, but have you considered proposing an actual trade? Something that you can do in exchange for skilled labor?
Dad looks at Velignith and sort of just as he's just thinking for a moment and says, "We understand the concept of trade, but what we have is strength. We have power, and with that we would trade them, well, I suppose their lives in return for what we require."
It's not exactly what I meant. Either way, I have no use of your strength at this very moment. However, I'll think of something I need from you, I'm sure. And then perhaps we can come to a deal of some sort.
Says, we do not have many neighbors.
Actually, I do have an idea. It might even be a good one. How opposed are you to traveling a bit to a different faction, so to speak, to do some work there in exchange for whatever he might be able to offer you instead.
Jensen nods. I am told to acquire this for the general, and so I will. And as long as what is required of me is not undignified. So.
I have an idea, however, it will need some coordination, so I'll get back to you about it.
Nods slowly. He doesn't like being an errant giant, considered somewhat below himself. But they don't seem to trust like random orcs and ogres to go deliver messages of this kind. So he'll nod, turn, trudge all the way home.
Alright, Manika, I do remember that we have like one be informed about a faction thing per point of influence or something.
Yeah, my question.
What's Anglerspark up to these days? How's his fight against Termish going?
He is still gathering his forces and dragons and such. Once he attacks Termage, after all, everyone else is going to root together. And right now, the problem is that everyone is together fighting against Sembia. If he goes to attack Termage now, then it's going to be very easy for them to just ask the coalition to sort of go help against him too. So hopefully, or he hopes that he's waiting his time, right?
Okay.
I like this idea of the fire giants going to Anglospark.
Yeah, that's sort of my
That
idea.
seems like a way. Yeah, seems like a way for you to curry favor with Anglospark, and the fire giants like to fill their role, and their role can best be served by mercenary work.
Yeah. So I think Valengerfell will send off a messenger towards the Asher Mountain. I'm sure one of Engelspark's underlings will intercept the message and be like, hey, there's a bunch of fire giants in the mountains here who are looking for people to maintain stonework in exchange for whatever fire giants do, which is hit things real hard.
All right, he'll just attempt to make a connection there. Yeah. What kind of servant does he send all that way?
He might actually send one of the skinwing behemoths, because it is quite far, and that is probably the safest way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Might get intercepted by one of the dragons there. Hopefully not like a Nephilim Sphinx or anything, but
we do fly around over there.
I think that is the best way though, like on foot, or like the Dragonfang doesn't have horses.
Mm-hmm.
Got dinosaurs, and they would look very odd traveling in a caravan.
There's your siege breaker.
Super cool though. Like,
I mean, you could travel basically south of this road and then further south to round under the Osram Mountain and go up to Termish.
Yeah, no, like that's way too far. Let's send one of the skinwings with like a couple of lizard folk. Well, maybe not a couple, but maybe like a pair.
Most likely, they will encounter hobgoblins who will take the message and bring it to Anglispark. Because they know what they should do. And Anglispark will return a message with the skinwing behemoth. And probably like a gemstone or something. Nothing too substantial, but like 100 gold pieces worth of some sort of gem. Just, for the Shrine of Tiamat.
Sure.
While the message returns will basically be a note of a thank you. He would be very interested in fire giants. they would augment his forces excellently, and he shall attempt to speak to them about such things. He certainly can produce, his minions can produce food, and he certainly can produce stonework. That's not a problem at all. And he loves the idea of maybe even just relocating that whole area there south. There's orc tribes and whatnot, and he considered it sort of Velignus' area. But I think it's okay with him just like trying to conscript those guys then. So he wants to do that.
Yeah, he can go for it.
He has all sorts of idea about how to organize them into regiments and legions and auxiliary forces,
That's a cool way to make use out of them, sheep.
Look at me doing diplomacy. What is this?
I know, like using that influence there. Oh. Finding the fire giants a haven so that they don't disrupt your agreement with Thunder. Oh. It's not how I thought this story was going to go. I love it.
Well, Spark will inquire as to Velignus' knowledge of what happens in Cormia at the moment. He's heard of the darkness there. He's too far away to really see it. But he knows there's a lot of black dragons there. If any of them are looking for a new home, then the Osfer Mountains is a great place for dragons to go. He will organize them and keep them safe from fighting each other, and then forge them into a spear he will launch at the heart of Termish.
I don't think they'd enjoy that.
If any of them need a place, we sent them down here. He can convince them once they arrive.
I heard there's cicatrix that can be found in the Osfren Mountains. Merix, you should go there.
No.
Ooh. Oh,
I mean,
how
Velignus
nice
will
was
keep
that?
it in mind, but he generally doesn't believe that any of the Black Dragons would voluntarily go down there.
Nicholas Spark allegedly has a couple of black dragons that are sort of dead and now are there. But, yeah. He hasn't met them. They don't get to go out a lot.
Wow.
They have jobs.
God. I swear, they're just like his fishermen.
He loves efficiency.
Efficiency. Hey.
Hey! Nice.
All right, yeah. That he's gonna essentially he will visit within the year to we'll probably send another dragon to go there and deliver a show of force basically and some food and such to the giants, basically to show that he has plenty. And yeah, he will begin to hire them with the idea to just he really wants to, like, ideally he would just want to relocate them entirely.
Yeah, just
Relocate and integrate them.
Yeah.
take them out of my mountains. I'm all for that.
Good. Yes, that's what he wants to do too. And all the orcs too. Why do they want to live here anyway? This is a terrible place.
I just love the vision of this goes successfully, like just cutting to like some folks like live in and around Nathlan after like all the shit that's going on there and recently. To just like the fire giant migration and like southern tribes from the giant
Or-
Front Mountains.
Dragons flying over. Oh,
Are you kidding me?
you're not here.
No!
What the fuck is happening? The world is falling apart.
The apocalypse is here! But they're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, once upon a time, General Vigdis would not have considered it, but given how much work it is to keep this place running, it kind of sucks.
And the stone. She didn't realize how much she needed the stone giants until they all ditched her.
Well, they were. She didn't really she considered them mostly automatons. Like, they did this because this is their duty and this is what they're for. And suddenly they're all gone. And yeah. How do you maintain a bridge?
We're all growing.
I mean, also the bridges of giant make, which Velignus has promised to delete from the mountains altogether. So this is great. Just let them erode. It's fine.
Collapse it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Osvakt here, the old ruined tower, the massive. There's basically a camp inside the tower's walls, as if the tower sort of broken walls were the walls of a keep. Um, it's somewhat maintained, worse now than it was.
Of course, with all the instability issues, like we've heard that she's had down there, what with everything,
Mm-hmm.
this maybe going it alone isn't for the best.
Yeah. And this, you know what? They kind of like the idea of this dragon here. He seems polite, if strict. Yeah, I think that's the matchmaker.
I gotta say that throws a wrench in my plans with the fire giants a
Well,
little
they
bit.
haven't gone anywhere yet. So if you have something you want to do with it, maybe hearing that they've been visited by Big Blue Dragon, might prompt you to do whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll have to think about how to. If they're moving, my idea is a little less
I mean,
enticing, probably.
they're in the process of being wooed.
Yeah, my stuff is not about wooing.
All
It
right.
never is.
Well, does anyone have something that they wanna do? You had something, Chief, you want to get to? Because let's do it. I mean, let's be dragons.
Yeah, all right. I just don't want to take up too much session time, but it's a long time coming. I gotta go there eventually. Veliknov wants to visit the Temple of Ogma.
Visit the Temple of Aqua.
Yeah. And by that, I mean he'll land a respectable distance away and wait for something to happen.
Outside of range. He sees there's like a small watchtower at the edge of the range, just outside the range of the lightning ballistae, outside the village, where it appears like an old monk is sitting, reading a book outside.
Veliknov will land in a spot where it's definitely visible and then just wait.
You can hear
Basically, the thing he does to every place he wants to talk to.
You can hear bells ringing. See that people are getting ready with the ballistae and such to protect the library.
They might not actually come out to converse, given the tapestry and long-standing thought process they have.
Sure, but they might change their mind eventually. Veliknov is perfectly happy to wait here for a couple hours, both for them to realize that he's not attacking, and also that Emmy is not coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think given their history with Veliknov, I think they would just stay inside, keeping an eye on him from the distance, but not wanting to leave the range of their lightning ballistae.
Preparing the wards and the spells.
Yeah.
They knew this day would come.
I mean, I think it's gonna give it a couple of hours, half a day.
Mm-hmm.
See if they at least send someone, because it would be rather annoying if they didn't. It doesn't bode well for a future relationship. But of course he can't tell them because they won't hear.
I don't think they will. I mean, there used to be a lot of adventurers in this town, but that's sort of dried up a bit. The town outside certainly, I mean, they don't even know what to say to a red dragon. Probably some people are trying to collect like whatever valuables they can to buy their lives, while the monastery seems to just have closed its gate. Some people are like outside the gate knocking to get into safety, but they ask essentially if they have any books that are worth saving, and then beyond that, they don't really get let in while the Hawkmice prepare themselves to defend their home.
Well, alright then. Suppose Veliknov will just take whatever offerings he's been being thrown at and leave. He'll try one different approach, perhaps a little time later, sending perhaps one of his more expendable minions with a message.
Who?
Probably, well, he wouldn't. I don't think Willinger would actually think that way. He would send whoever he thinks is most likely to actually be heard. Which might be one of the dwarves, actually, not the lizard folk.
Probably a good choice.
You know, have him go alone, because obviously it's not supposed to be a threat or anything. And really, surely they wouldn't dare to actually do anything to his messenger. With a message along the lines of that Valigna wants to talk personally, and it would be rather unfortunate if he were forced to use force rather than diplomacy.
The Arkmites will consider and will essentially say that a meeting could be arranged, but they would need some sort of guarantee. But it's simply too dangerous for them to just walk out to.
They can have the promise of Valigna, which they might not realize, but that stands for a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think, they might even. I think this is what I think they would figure, right? They would ask if there's such a meeting. They would want Emissary Lidrathir to be there as a guarantee. So they know that she's an avid enemy of Valignith, who would love a chance to teach him what for. But if Valignith will accept to meet with her there, then that means that they are, should things go bad, they can fight him with Emissary and thus have the upper hand.
I think the dwarf will get like the average dwarf grudgy frown before, with a sigh, he explains that will absolutely not happen for reasons that would become apparent once you talk to Valignith. Do consider that this is the second attempt at getting some sort of direct communication going. The third attempt will most likely involve knocking down walls.
Not supposed to be a threat. As the solo dwarven messenger conveys that.
It's I mean, it's a bit of a threat, honestly. It's both the truth and a threat.
You think?
It's a sad threat, because that would be the reality.
It's literally no wonder why they don't want to talk to you.
Oh, you don't want to talk? I guess I have to tear your home down, brick by brick.
Yeah, basically.
Well, let's say if there can be no guarantee of their safety, then their leader can't leave the monastery. If Valignith wishes to talk, they will not shoot him if he approaches, so that he can land in the courtyard and then talk there. There they would feel like they would have time to prepare now, to get it ready, or something like that.
Right.
But if he wishes to kill them, they will not make it so easy as to simply leave their monastery.
I think the messenger will leave and Valignav will accept. He's not afraid of them. He used to be. Well, he was never afraid, but he was respectful of their ability to hurt him, which is probably not that relevant anymore, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That is... That's a stance.
Yeah. You know, you want to feel safe. Valignav will make you feel less safe by ignoring your defenses completely and agreeing to that meeting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, then we can just have that happen.
Sure. Valignav will, on the agreed upon day, fly a few circles over the monastery and such, just looking at things and being visible, the latter being more important than the former.
See the wizards and the clerics and the guardsmen, crossbows, and the ballistas are trailing him automatically as apprentices are holding them back.
As he'll land with a big thump, perhaps harder than it has to be. But he wants to.
You can in front of him see the wall that surrounds the sort of central keep building of the monastery. As some bearded man or another, I mean, whoever probably is the current leader, will approach, flanked by a couple of the temple guard.
Svidlikov will say, you know, some time ago I was less patient than this, as I imagine you're very well aware. I have... Sorry, go ahead.
He's met only by hard eyes. Quite clear they consider him an enemy. Who probably is here to trick them or try to burn down everything they own.
He frowns a bit at having to go through all this when he could just, in fact, burn down everything they own, but no. Next time, maybe. As he'll say, I've come to inform you about a change in the area that is relevant to you, as well as a offer related to that fact. I assume you've noticed that Amazure Lidrafir has not yet appeared, neither when I first arrived nor now. Have you attempted to contact her?
Emissary Lidrathir has made clear that we should prepare to meet your kind on our own. We have done such preparations, nor think this would be an easy target, nor that we would be intimidated.
I don't need you to be a target. If I wanted you to be a target, I wouldn't be here today for the second time, trying to make you an offer instead. Your independence is respectable, I suppose. However, there are plenty of threats that your association with Emmy has averted simply by reputation and knowledge that she did, in fact, consider you worth protecting. That, however, won't continue in the future, as you've realized, as she has moved away. Perhaps you consider me the primary threat that she has protected you from. But of course, there are others who now would have free rein to truly test your independence. And you would have no one to call upon for help.
He nods slowly. Once the dragon aided us, it's true. Now we are more ready than ever. And we do have allies and friends, and those we could call upon, the worst come to pass. Cormier is close.
Cormier has problems. And I don't think that on their list of priorities you even make any of the first 10 pages.
He nods. That is true.
I am here to offer my assistance instead. Not only would you remove me as a potential threat altogether, because I would be assisting you instead, but you would also be able to call upon me in case something or another decides to threaten you. I've seen that your relationship with Emmy has been productive for both sides, so I intend to benefit from a similar arrangement.
What exactly would you want in return?
Oh, that's easy. I will offer you my protection, as well as perhaps whatever knowledge, written or otherwise, you might be interested in that I possess, in return for a single particular book in your library.
We might be able to trade you, if you can pay the price, the knowledge of what might be in a tome we possess, but we do not remove knowledge from the library.
I would be content with a copy.
Such a thing would take time to create.
I'm sure it would. Time I have plenty.
And they are expensive.
Well, as far as I see it, you've spent much of your wealth in your defenses, which in the future won't be necessary, so you're saving a lot of money there.
He sort of, it doesn't seem to even like that's not even, he doesn't acknowledge that as a fact. They do like to be independent. And they believe that armed neutrality is the best way to maintain that.
But I assume that you are speaking the truth. So if you're willing to name the cost of materials and whatever you would require for that, I would be willing to at least entertain the notion. I am trying very hard to make this work, you see.
If it is knowledge you seek and you're willing to pay the price, sort of stuff's around us, we will be willing to trade with you as we would with any other, as long as you do not attempt to breach our sanctuary, destroy the knowledge we keep, or otherwise abuse our relationship.
The only reason why I would want to destroy anything here is if I considered your attitude to be disrespectful, which so far could have been better. Perhaps it can be better in the future.
Dragon. We have not heard from you in many years. I think my predecessor and the one before him would not have entertained this current arrangement. To me, you are simply a potential devotee, as so many others, seeking the aid of Ogma to enlighten you. In return, you will pay the respect the god demands. And as anyone else coming here, you shall then have what you seek. What is it you seek? Which book would you have copied?
The aptly named Tome of the Dragon.
And you believe we have such an example?
I am aware that you do, in fact.
He looks at it, yes. What's as if it's now he is a little bit intimidated by the dragon. What would you hope to do with such a thing?
I haven't quite decided yet. You see, initially I just wanted to possess it because it is, well, somewhat sacrilege that mortals would be in control of such an important document, which obviously is very relevant to myself. However, I would be willing to compromise with simply having access to its contents should I require them.
For a moment. She nods slowly. It is a rare example. It is a dark text, with many ramblings of a madman. If there are particular bits you seek, however, as with all the knowledge, I believe we can find a price that would be appropriate.
I'm sure we can, because I would hate to have to spend attention and effort on the alternative.
Yes. Then we shall have to investigate. Find out. I shall have to investigate and find out what this book contains. That it can be copied. And what efforts we would have to do to make such a thing. Some of these are not trivial to create.
Of course.
Looks at the dragon.
Of course, I expect whatever price you present to me to include adequate compensation for my future protection. Which should make it quite reasonable, don't you think?
This is, I have yet to see any proof of this protection. If we are in danger, and if he sort of stops for a moment and says, "No, we will consider it."
I'm sure you will consider it very carefully.
He was about to suggest that should danger come and you should help them, then. But on the other hand, wouldn't the dragon simply create a danger and then solve it? To his mind, that seems like a thing that the dragon would do.
Little does it know, it has already happened, yeah.
That was a very real danger of a dragon that definitely did want to go in there and sabotage every book they had. But, yeah, not. So we will be working on it then. and you shall know our price. In gold, jewels, magic. Whichever form it can take.
Looking forward to judging whether that price is appropriate.
For something like this, I'm sure it will be too small.
Oh, that's a matter of perspective.
Not. The knowledge, after all, should be very useful to you.
Perhaps consider, however, not only the... how do I put this? The concerns you have about this deal, but also the benefits. I know things that nobody else does. I could write a book about myself that I could give to you. Something along those lines.
What sort of things?
I've got quite an interest in metalworking, you see. It's a bit of a hobby of mine, so to speak, and my insights would be unique indeed.
He nods. Such things do intrigue us. Perhaps, then, if you wish to prove yourself, we might find an acolyte who could go to your fane and to inspect it, and perhaps interview you over a couple of months. If you answer the questions honestly, we will take that into account.
I'm not opposed to that idea.
He considers. Then we shall find someone, and we shall send them. It might take time to find a volunteer, however. Your reputation has preceded you by several years.
I can promise you that whoever you send will learn a lot of interesting things.
Mm-hmm. He knows full well that there's probably someone who would wish to stand out in this world of academia by going on a trip to interview a red dragon. It's a rare chance to get, even if it comes at some considerable risk.
I assume you know how to contact me.
Someone will arrive.
Good. In that case, I eagerly await your decisions. Philip will throw another glance at the nearest ballista before taking off.
Could fly home. As they will discuss and have like a meeting and such about what to do about this sort of red dragon approach. If it is a trick, how can he use what we're doing again? He wants the dragon book. That's obvious. Yeah. It is not something they normally would just give away, right? But he asks for a copy, and that's different.
I think on the way back, Philip was like grumbling to himself that this is far too complicated for his liking. And you know what? The Tome of the Dragon probably would not be flammable, because that would be silly. So surely if he decided to go for the alternative, that, just burn everything, pick through the rubble, and there it is. So easy, but no consequences.
Not at all. It's all good.
Gotta check whether it's the Tome of the Black Dragon, so it's just acid proof,
Oh.
Ah!
To destroy this artifact is to torch it by Red Dragon Fire.
Because Red Dragon don't usually want to read anyway, so.
You good now, Sheep?
Yeah, I'm good. Waiting for them to make their decision.
All right, Harry, you waiting for the initiative?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting too. Man, I got used to it.
Woo! All right. In Westgate, the news is that a Thayan diplomat arrived by ship along with some Bay Knight devotees. Apparently, an alliance has been made between the cult of Bane and the Thayan, Thayan authorities. It's an official thing, which means that it's the nation of Thay more so than the actual wizards. But upon arriving in Westgate, they are promptly killed and strung up by the Red Banner host. An unfortunate circumstance that is not going to be taken well by the nation of Thay when news arrives home to them. As the Red Banner host continues to rampage and just enjoy their time, really, along with the cult of Sirik. They see when the diplomats were called to Westgate, the political structure was a bit different. With that, the Seeker has seen what's been happening in the city, and he's kind of done. Like, this is not what he signed up for, and now the Thayans are going to be coming to do bad things to it, so he's just going to take his tower and go somewhere else.
I just love the idea of, like, the landscape of Westgate, the tower just vanishes one day.
Basically, he just lets it be known that, yeah, he's going to Waterdeep. He's
Park his tower in some slum.
yeah,
You
but
know.
he's out of friends here anyway. He just teleported to someone's house. I mean, what are they going to do?
I can't blame him. Plenty of action and intrigue happening in Waterdeep without all this violence
Yeah.
openly.
Well, I mean, this place is much more accepting than Waterdeep
Yeah.
in general, but it just, at some point, when the cult of Sirig is running things, you just don't want to, like, there's a limit, there's a line, and this is crossing it.
You've gone too far for the servant effect. Now he cannot take it anymore.
He doesn't want to be here anymore. All right. Colmir will, there's a truce now happening. Yet they are still plagued by intrigue. Essentially, Colmir's, just because they want to roll every time, will have their influence reduced while they're dealing with the Shadow War assassins and spies and infiltrators, constantly trying to breach their sort of internal structure and infiltrate them, in the hopes probably of bringing them down without open war at the moment. The expedition, though, having long been away, will be transported back to help protect Iriabor against similar attacks, because they certainly, the Shadow does want to spread further south. On that note, the Shadow War itself will, let word be that yes, the current war is over. However, it has also just begun. Let all followers of Shah and those who can be sympathetic to her causes organize themselves and ready themselves to further enshroud the land. In Westgate, a cult of Shah is rising. Probably so is it in many other places. Secretive, certainly. But, well, where there's power, people who feel powerless want to join up with it. Sembia, similarly, is just recovering right now, trying to not become too weak so that the coalition might actually take them out. At this moment, it's more of a standoff than anything else. No one really wants to commit, fear of losing. Red Banner Host is happy to be in Westgate. Things are happening. Things are good there. They're sort of running the place a little bit, terrorizing people, knocking things over. It's fine for now. It's probably the way they look at it. Who knows? Once they get real bored, they might begin knocking things over more. At this point, once more, they're strong and rich. Captain's Council is not home. Sutter's Hold. The Giants were going to raid someplace, but given the connections they've had made with Anglispark, I think they won't actually. They're happy to take that and spend some of their time sending some people to the Osfound Mountains to just see what's going on there. Finding that Anglispark has actually carved out like parrots and stuff from the stone and made his hobgoblins and his people just work hard to produce livable conditions, though clearly temporary with his idea of taking over Termish. The Giants rather like this, and, well, I mean, currently there seems to be little reason to stay in these mountains. I mean, it's not like the final order they were given was really something they were going to follow anyway. You know. I'm gonna have to just skip and take their turn scouting.
Prestigatrix would like to send. No. Yes, to send a messenger to try and arrange a meeting.
Oh, sure. You can just have one. Yeah. You're not that far away.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll take
Well,
place
she'll
in
warn them.
probably the
you know.
tower. That's
Yeah.
that's where
I
Victus
mean, we
normally
are
hangs out. The other
neighbors.
places are for like goblins and ogres and whatnot. Victus lives in the tower. Even if it is far below its former glory, it is, still a magnificent structure. Yeah, we'll meet with the dragons just slightly out of the tower as usual, not wanting to make the dragon feel threatened by getting into the confined space.
I think Prestigatrix takes a moment. This is awkward. She's never been the one to directly speak with this person,
Mhm.
having known that both the Missouri and Vindictive has. But I mean, she will just. It has been a while since I have seen you. I understand you, as I have faced a lot of trouble recently.
General Victus will nod and say, "Indeed, though it would appear that my troubles have turned. We had a visit from a dragon recently who has offered us gainful employment somewhere else. Is this why you've come as well?"
No, I. So you are looking to leave
She sort of
these
thinks
mountains?
for a moment and then nods. If everything is as it is stated, it appears prudent. We are not for sort of just shakes it. We're not for maintaining this thing. We are warriors. We're soldiers. We fight, we kill, and we do it better than anyone. I don't farm a field. I don't plow. Shakes her head. Saying the words with some bit of venom.
No, I
I'm
mean,
sure you can
Vestigatrix
understand
not.
that.
She wouldn't. Like,
Here, there would be people. We would have preferred, of course, to stay, have our own independence, and take the people we require. But Velignith has made that difficult. He seems to have grown fond of the dwarves, fonder than he were of our alliance.
and what is to say that you could not help this other dragon and then acquire people, slaves from whatever war you're going to have?
Nonsense. We could, perhaps, but these mountains have shown that they are not a good place to be. The 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 lesser castes have grown uppity. And they have shown that they are not above attempting to assassinate. They
Yes.
failed, and they have not attempted again, but should they, I'm sure they would more accurately predict my power.
And that is the reason that I am here.
Sort of
I
narrows her eyes,
understand that
ready
they
the weapon a
are.
little bit.
Hmm?
She narrows her eyes and sort of sees if this is about trouble. If you're here to do what they did.
No, she like waves a claw. No. I don't like the thought of having stone giants in these mountains either. Well, not on a rampage. It seems that they are in the ploy of some old deity of theirs who wants to tear down the old order, whatever. I understand that they used to be sealed. Some kind of, well, some of them at least.
She nods.
I do not, however, speak your language and not the older kind that I would need to try and deal with this problem. And it occurred to me that instead of trying to learn, I could at least try to reach out and, well, find people who can do that and have the knowledge and maybe knowledge of the history. I don't.
You want me to teach you our language? She says flatly.
No. I want someone to help me look at them so that I can, you too, can learn how to seal these despicable creatures away so that they do not attempt to assassinate me or you, for the matter, again. Now, if you are to leave, I suppose I will have to try and make some kind of offer as to why such knowledge should be useful or pay for it.
So I have no love for the banished people below. If you will trust me, I will show you our runes.
She'll nod after a little bit.
And come, they lie below the tower.
I mean, she'll follow,
Sure.
though not happily.
Will ascend to the other fire giants and hill giants and such that await above. Go to one of the cave passages that leads in under the tower. And indeed, is Cicatrix follows, there's perhaps there's an instinct that says like, "Oh, this is dangerous," right? 'Cause they're around a lot of big, scary things. But it's also powerful and good in caves and such. The cave is somewhat narrow, but leads into a large room that appears to have basically the lower floor of the tower as the ceiling of this room. Big stone slabs there, whereupon it is indeed seen a circle of glowing runes, a rather intricate network of them, created in some sort of, well, giant runic script, uh, sort of just sitting there in the ceiling. She gestures up to them. This might be what you're looking for.
Is there anything it's containing, or is it just like the runic circle?
Well, they appear to be. It's like big. It's certainly bigger than Vesicatrix. So it covers the
Oh,
whole bottom there. Yeah, a couple of concentric circles sort of combined in various ways. So it's like, as to
what?
what exactly they do or mean, I could not hope to tell you. It is cloud make. It is not for us.
As I have researched into. They are supposed to keep beings from being utility used by be summoned by the dead to be made undead and put under the control of such entities.
She shrugs, seeming fairly uninterested in them, really. She'll say, we are to protect them, maintain them, wherever they appear in the mountains. Of course, other places, less important places, would have lieutenants in those positions. They should have been scattered about, old ruins and the like. This is the southeastern runic center. There should be some northeast, northwest, and of course, well, I do believe the southwestern one fell into a massive hole. So
So there are ones in every direction.
she nods. I could not tell you exactly where. I
Is
have not
there one
spent
in
time on it.
the middle?
She seems to think that would be that would be the throne. Yes.
Throne. Oh, the tower or
The highest
like goes
point,
up.
the highest peak, where the High King would dwell. Above where the cloud regents used to be.
So
It was
your
very
people
important
are
to them.
protecting these circles, yes?
Circles?
Runic structures.
Since I have never created them. Nor do any of
Whoever
my people know
protects
how.
them.
She shrugs and says, yes, we were told to guard this tower. It has strategic value. Beyond that, the king's orders, he has not given them for a very long time. But the orders were to protect these places, keep them maintained, keep them running. Do not allow them to fall into disrepair. I do not know exactly how the orders translated. The regents are the ones who handle that. They're the administrators. I used to think they were sort of superfluous, but I suppose their job appears more difficult than I initially thought. Then again, I suppose they've failed miserably at doing it.
Well, evidently. Yeah. I mean, the signature's like. She take a look at them like I'm wondering. Well, actually, she's been here.
She just will reach up and put her hand on them and just sort of run her fingers over the lines of them. There's slight indentations where they would be, as you would
Yeah.
close her fist and punch it slightly against it. So I don't think they would be too hard to break, really. Shatter the stone and they fall apart. The more religious of my people would revere them. They were created by the king, allegedly, in a very, very long time ago. They would revere them, consider them religious artifacts, I suppose. I never really had that inclination myself. I figured if they were so important, why would some of them be protected by hill giants? Things. I suppose the frost caste died out during the old wars, but well, the enemy was banished. We won. The laziness of the stone cast has ever been the reason it was not repaired, I think. It might be good for my people to get away from this. There's too much history here.
Well, if you do, I will take it upon myself to. Well, I would like to study them.
Just do whatever you want.
Sis grins. Yes.
I really would rather not care about these things. It just seems pointless.
I appreciate you showing this. I do hope to put it to use. To make sure that the stone giant shall not keep roaming these lands as they please. I'm sure you agree that it is not.
Since they have betrayed their purpose, they are nothing to me anymore. They can live or die. I'm not one for revenge. It doesn't gain me much.
Masigatrix just nods, but she, I mean, yeah, sure, yeah, me too.
The fact that I can leave and they would be stuck here dealing with all of it. It's fine by me.
Masigatrix grins, considering herself all of it. Part of it.
Mm-hmm. When she gestures at like the symbols and such, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, she knows something about what's going on, but
Well, I hope that you will find a new and better hold without these old traditions, how meaningless they seem to be, tying you down.
it's at least now we will be the highest caste of giants. Should there be anyone above us, it will be a dragon, at least for a time. Who knows what the future might bring for us?
Yeah, Mr. nods.
Sure.
And if there's nothing else, she will leave. No.
Victus is surprised that anyone would care about these old things. The dragons never seem too interested in like giant religion, but she hasn't spoken to Visicatrix personally, and
Yeah, I think Mr. would I don't know, send some people with some resources temporary. Yeah, would it like if I can for this year just reduce my money or something? I feel like even though it's not worth it to them, she would, appreciate the gesture.
what would? Oh, I mean, you could sure, yeah, you can send some, just like if you want to just give them money, yeah, they'll accept money.
Yeah, resources.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to farm. I mean, I really mostly got fish, but
She does like the tower. The tower was a good symbol of power, but she does not like the idea of having to maintain it by herself. So
yeah. Back.
she needs these giants. Now she needs to take them a place so that that leadership cannot be contested in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, Erebor.
Well, I was thinking just yes, leave. I'll take the tower.
Erebor, over the side here, is happy to have the Commune expedition back, and will begin to open talks with Elversalt, wanting Elversalt to join their little alliance. That would be grand. As such, they will attempt to influence the city to to apply for a Comerian sort of protectorate status.
I would like to defend against that.
You would. Oh, the Dragon Fane will not allow Oversoul to join the Independent City stage.
No, like Elfsoul.
You are dependent on me. I mean, Thunderhole.
Did you want to get destroyed a second time? Don't do this to me. How? I've never defended against influence. How?
So are you trying to defend or are you contesting? Basically, do you want to roll to stop them from doing a thing, or do you also want to try to do a thing yourself?
I mean, I think contesting makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And his influence is don't get involved with these guys, they're trouble, or
it's basically, I mean, look at Cormier, like they're so busy. If something were to happen down here, like they couldn't help you in the first place. How about you join the Thunderhome Dragonfane Alliance, you know? Well, maybe not Dragonfane. Let's not mention the Dragonfane. But
yeah.
If you want to make an alliance, make it depend on each other, not some vague entity that doesn't care about you.
Like a dragon. I mean, oh, shit.
I mean, a dragon is a very specific entity, you see. That doesn't care about you, but that's different.
Directly to it. All right. I mean, they will roll their 6 die here.
What do I roll to defend?
And if you would contest it, then you would roll espionage as well, which is influence plus treasure.
Okay, I can do that.
If you contest it instead, you're rolling influence and territory.
Yeah.
Or if you defend.
Oh, we're contesting.
You have your own message. That's really about who does it better.
I mean, I'll look at their roll first, anyways. If they get like triple 10s, then I don't think my arguments can do much.
Double 5, double 3.
Okay. Double 4, double 2.
All right, they win. As you know, the conversation is sparkling. Things go either way, and yeah.
You know, we haven't seen this in a while. This can't stand. Only destruction is the truth revealed. If mere words and platitudes cannot prove how sincere and genuine the Red Dragon is, then you have to remind them of why.
Sense.
It's true. Let's see. How do I phrase this?
I invoke the compulsion.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how this will go.
I want to do some flair and jazz hands. Oh, sound effects guy in the background.
I think what Velignov will do, noticing that Elversil, the city that he made after destroying it, is moving towards the one of the few factions that he really, really dislikes, will pretty much give the city an ultimatum, saying, hey, if you do that, then... How do I phrase this? You're looking for help that you will only need because you're looking for help in the wrong places. If you associate yourself with Cormier, Elversoul 2.0 will be removed and replaced with Elversoul 3.0, with people who are more reasonable. How about that?
Is the threat backed up by action? Like, does he actually intend to burn the whole thing down?
He intends to, if Elversoul fully commits, or rather officially commits to Cormier, he's gonna attack Elversoul. And he will also communicate that intent with Thunderhome so that they too can prevent that from happening.
Thunderhome will inquire as to what exactly is Veligna's hatred for Cormier. What if he too was a friend of them?
Excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, they just, they're curious. Like, what is the...
There are few things that you should not question, and Valigna's dislike for Cormier is one of them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes Cormier hesitate because they know that he'd do it, right? And they don't want that on their conscience. On the other hand, it's also direct action against Cormier.
It sure as hell is, but they haven't heard anything for a while. It's time to remind them that Valigna exists. Which is a bad idea, but gosh darn it.
And it's being a nuisance again. You know that they would put these guys here, just so they're within range should something happen. They're working allegedly on these old ruined towns, right? That's why they're here. It's not a statement at all.
Not at all.
As they control this part here, basically, and this part here. And currently, given that they have Tizir, they can use their full power within the Dragon Coast. At least for now. It's not going to get pushed further. Though, depending on how things go with the Shadow War and with Zembia and how pressured Cormier feels, it might be that they want to clear their backs from potential threats before moving on. We could say for now there's a tight stalemate of looking across. The people in the city though, they kind of do want to be with Cormier. They feel more safe. Cormier's not threatening them. But it is true. It is true what he says. Threats. Meanwhile, Thunderhome just wishes everyone would get along. It's just bad for business, all this.
I mean, me too, but not like this.
Not on their...
Think of the taxes that Cormier would enforce in Elversalt.
Well, what if they didn't, though?
Exactly. What if they never had the power to do anything with taxes in this entire area?
True. Taxes are a good argument. Any day you talk to Thunderhome, they don't like the word taxes, They don't like the idea of people having some of their silver. That seems like a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't like anyone having my silver either,
Yeah, well, good that you have all your own silver then, and that they have theirs. That's what really makes this friendship so valuable and strong.
Thought maybe, with how 3 hours deep into the session, we might go through a session without this coming up.
Yeah, well, it,
I think we have like a sandwich cart, We need that one. We need the black thread. Like, there's just some staples.
Thunderhome has, time has passed, quite a lot of it too. And really working with Valigna seems like this current situation, which was really kind of a truce, has turned very much into the normal for the dwarves here in Thunderhome. They have the mine, they have the tower. Valigna wants a seat on the council that, I mean, to some degree, some people at this point are like, what's the harm? Let him sit in on it. He can vote. Like, that's, he's a dragon. He could do much for this city, and if he's personally interested, personally invested, that could only really be good for them, right? So certainly they're sort of warming up to the idea. This is a little reminder that dragon does not like when things do not go its way. Dayan's host is having a bit of trouble. Some of these beasties that are now beginning to prowl these lands, these big rhinos, they're more aggressive now. They don't run from you. Like, before they charge you and such, but they're faster now, bigger now, more tougher. They're going in for some lean years. It's tough to hunt these big beasties, especially when you've been not used to it. When they were in full warrior shape, sure, then they could have done it, but at this point they've had somewhat cushy lives for a while, and they're going to have to shape up to really be able to maintain their current lifestyle in this sort of against the new type of hunting that is required here. As such, they too are beginning to look around for potential raiding opportunities. You never know. Allegedly, the Temple of Arkma is not protected. That could be a potential goal. There really aren't that many places around here, though. There used to be small villages and such along here, but they were forcibly relocated, removed. The Emerald Enclave is having a debate. Apparently, the cult of Nabanian has split and broken. Some of them, about half of them, have arrived in the forest here, no longer associated with the cult directly. Of course, they still believe in the tenets and such of Nubanian, but they have left the sort of direct worship of the deity. They've come instead to integrate into the main part of the Emerald Enclave, and there's somewhat a discussion about what should be done with them. Many of them are Wemics and just paladins and the like, and some are afraid that they might have too much of an influence upon the overall ideology, the direction that the Emerald Enclave is taking in the future, while others believe that of course they should be welcomed back in. If they have changed their mind and don't want to fight for this ghost thing, then they're more than welcome. It also has the implication, though, that the ones who haven't arrived might be doing something else. Something that is far more insidious. And, well, word has it that though the ones who have arrived are loath to speak of it, they will mention that some have seen this perhaps as a sign from the Banyan. Perhaps he wants them to punish themselves for their failure by accepting the Spellscar and then use its power to rid and save this land from Malar. That could well be what the god is intending to purvey, even though this certainly is a strange way to do it. Some of them, survivors of the first fight here, up by the Shrine of Malar, where the cult sort of tried to fight Emisari directly. Some of those people that have stayed behind are veterans, perhaps embittered by what they saw there, thinking the dragon a greater threat than a bit of spellfire.
I think Emisari Leaderfear, who was content to otherwise, just consume, this year of, what the hell has happened around me? And because she's a typically, passive, patient dragon anyway, I think the claws have to go on the scales here. Or torture some other metaphor. I think any, ideology which accepts that getting a spell scar is a good idea, especially with what she saw with Veristrix, is inherently abhorrent, and not just out of, her own self-interest, but, that's a violation against nature. You can't do that.
Feels wrong.
I think her efforts this year, since her might is tied up with Novacree, who's going to tattle on how terrible Valignith was whenever he finally gets back at the end of this year. I think her effort's going to be tied into finding where these hardcore worshippers of Nobanian who want to get spell scars have gone. She knows how blue fire and spell scarring is. She knows what to look for. And she can instill that in her minions. She needs to find them in order to take action against them. Scour the Gulf Mirror. They can't have gone far if they think that opposing her is better. And they'll want to be next to the Avatar of Nobanian, too.
Yeah. Well, that thing is elusive.
Yeah. So, somewhere in the Gulf Mirror, it is, but also they must be.
It
She
is.
doesn't intend to act against it, but
The
them.
science of it has begun being that sometimes when you hunt, you find a deer that has a spell scar up its side. It's twisted. Half of its face is weird and twisted.
Yeah.
It's clearly been marred by something. As if mauled by a lion, but where it would have died and been ripped apart, instead, it has simply been changed.
Yeah. Anything like that she finds, she kills and doesn't eat that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't eat that food.
No, you don't. but I guess some people do.
Yeah. We'll have to have some deep thought on what to do about those people. Yeah, so what is it gonna be for me to, I suppose, like, what step? Like, it almost sounds like a company action, because
Yeah,
it's
it
not something that
does.
she can do her own. Am I, like, doing espionage on the Gulf Mirror, like, against this hidden faction to
You would be, yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Alright, that is influence and treasure. I will not adjust that one way or the other. I'll add a +1 die because she's handling this. She's actually taking direct action for a change. I have a pair of 8s.
Perfect. Well, there's going to be a resist here. Trying to keep that hidden. Pair of 2s. Can't do it. Yeah, it would appear, given the Emerald Enclave's a lot of eyes in this forest of the Gulf Mirror, the sort of breakoffs of the Colton Banyan have had to leave the forest. They've gone south into the edge of the Austrian mountains, where you would normally find, or still find, a lot of the purple worm tunnels escaping the Underdark around this ridge here. They have simply placed themselves there and appear indeed to be hunting for the spell-scarred creatures so that they may consume them.
Okay. I think Emi's leader theory's next step is that she remembers from her visit to Hezeph's lair, that there was a powerful dragon that was vassalizing other dragons in that region, and she needs to do the whole, like, what dragons do with other dragons do thing. It's a territory check.
Mhm.
Like, she needs to ascertain, and we could do this, like, indirectly, like, how far away Anglospark considers his territory to be. Because if that sphere falls there, she's gonna go about approaching this differently.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Checking that, she will find that Ankelsbach considers this river to generally be the border of his domain. He
Okay.
considers this over here to be Nathlan.
Alright. Good.
He's sort of vaguely on this side here,
Alright.
facing really towards Termish. Termish is where he wants to be.
Good. Glad we checked that. So, I guess the next thing Amazari Leader Theory is gonna do, and God, she doesn't want to do this. How will she even go about this? She needs to have a conversation with Cinder Moon. Direct action has to be taken against these individuals that are eating spell-scarred creatures that the Avatar no Banyan's leaving behind. God, she doesn't want to talk to Cinder Moon. Maybe she won't find Cinder Moon. Maybe she'll put out the word and Cinder Moon won't show up, and this will be easier. Now, she's gotta try and reach out. She doesn't know how to talk to the epic tier, like druid leader of the Emerald Enclave, but she's probably still around in the Gulfmere Forest, like, organized against this. So yeah, Mizure will go looking for her and put the word to other, like, powerful members of the Emerald Enclave that Mizure would like to speak with Cindermoon about the cultists in Nobanian that are have not tried to rejoin the Emerald Enclave.
Mhm. Yeah, she can be found. Not in any settlement or anything like that, but
Right.
probably like in some grove again. Like she has a home somewhere, but certainly not here. And
Mhm.
like most of the time, she's just like a big panther or something. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really behoove her to have a lot of
No, it
possessions or
doesn't.
locations. Then again, she
Not
speaks with the trees and the forest as a whole. So
yeah. She figures if she puts out the word to the forest itself that Cindermoon, she doesn't know what Cindermoon's capable of, but the forest will tell Cindermoon.
it is hard to ascertain. Certainly, she has an even more now than she used to. Uh, as a Missouri comes into the clearing, she seems even more. Before she was sort of aloof and a little bit sort of almost as if she couldn't really concentrate on anything. At this point, it's even clearer. Like her eyes are darker rimmed and sort of above. Like it's almost as if shadow has fallen around her, just sort of dimming light. Uh, as she's sort of a depressive figure to look upon. She will
That's stark and concerning for the dragon, but it's not something we directly bring up with the lady.
She will meet Emizure, expecting the dragon as she arrives to the suggested meeting place. Around here are the footsteps of some massive beast having been burnt into the ground. Lion prints of ash into the grass. She seems to have been looking around at them.
Mizure opens up and says, "Good tidings to you, Cindermoon. I am pleased to see you once more." Like, trying to, once again, attempt, diplomatic overtures, but Cindermoon wanted her to be casual, and so Dragon's trying to figure out what that means.
You're up.
I am, yes.
That is good. This forest needs more of your influence in it. So, you wanted to meet me, personally?
Yes. I have heard that break-offs from the Cult of Nobanian have returned to the Gulfmere to rejoin with the Emerald Enclave. I have no direct opinion about them, I would convey. Instead, I would tell you that I have found where those who did not wish to rejoin are, and that they even now consume the spell-scarred creatures that this blue flame lion leaves behind.
She nods slightly absent-mindedly. I see. I've tried to hunt it, find it, but it is elusive. I would not want to fight it without it being on my own terms.
Of course not. I would not suggest right now that we fight it, but we can do something about the cultists who grow stronger as they are left to fester, much like the blue flame does.
She nods. Yes, they should be destroyed.
Yes, I intended to take direct action against them with my minions in the coming months. I thought, however, given Sylvanus, the nature of everything, that I would first bring that up with you.
Destroy them wherever you find them. It is the most important thing. And she sort of shakes her head slightly as if she's dizzy. She sort of looks to me, sorry. I actually have something I want to ask of you.
Of course, Cindermoon, we are friends, are we not? Please ask.
Yes. You know that this, the heir of Nathalan, they call him a chosen.
I have heard.
If you in any way, somehow, someday, manage to find him, to catch him, to find someone like him, I would be very interested in retrying my effort.
The dragon squints. She says, "I have only heard indirectly through my malady of what occurred. I would like to hear from you yourself about what happened. Something about you performing a ritual on the heir of Nathalan. I do not know the details."
I attempted to harness the power of the divine spark within him, to draw it out and to wield it so that I could cleanse this world. But I was interrupted. The beast appeared. I imagine it wanted to protect itself. Had I seen it in its form and held it in my hand, I would have destroyed it.
Ah,
I would do so again. But if the power of the divine spark could be wielded, then I could bring such a thing to the land down south, and with such power, surely we could finish the job. just remake the world, mend the
Uh,
wounds.
Of course. Purge the spell scarred.
She nods.
Right. However, if this avatar is prowling in the Gulfmere, I do not believe you would have another opportunity without us dealing with it first.
And yet, the word on the wind is that there are more coming. The one in Nathlin is not alone. The Chosen are appearing, and will be appearing. I've seen that much. The world speaks of it. And when they do, if you find them, if you manage to hear about them, I would wish to know. And she sort of looks at him and I think steps close enough and puts like a hand on Imishir, whichever part she can reach, like probably like a shoulder or like a front leg or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And she like
Missouri
looks
has permitted this before.
into the dragon's eyes, like really sort of meeting the gaze.
The Missouri leader there says, "Well, you are the most powerful entity I have met in my life. Should I find one of these chosen, I see no reason why I would not inform you. I have no love for the blue flame either, and it being purged could only be good for this world. For us."
She nods. Could only be good. 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 She
Hmm.
breathes out a little bit and sort of nods to herself. Yeah.
Oh my god, she's crazy.
She said, and Missouri says, "Your concerns are many. If it would assist you in any way, I can, in spreading my influence here in the forest, I could look after the enclave itself. I can monitor it so that you may ensure that the blue flame does not take us over."
Nods slightly and says, the Enclave will elect their own leaders, I'm sure, but if you would work for me as a deputy, perhaps,
Of
it would
course.
allow my range to be greater, and in truth, some of them are weak. They, they fear the methods we might have to take to protect everything. It is as if, should they have to dirty their hands, they would rather have the world burn. Can there be a price so high that it could not? s- She
Uh,
seems disgusted at the thought of like
yeah. So,
considering not doing everything that's possible.
yeah. Uh, Imuzure will like reciprocate by putting like a claw on, or like she figures like the top of Cindermoon's head's like rude, so she like settles for like the like a shoulder side and says, "I was taught, since I was a wormling, that no price is too high to ensure such a thing." Thinking back to Amrath and what he taught her,
Mhm.
it must be done.
She nods. Yes, I shall consider this. You will need my aid with this cult. We will
Uh,
need to destroy them.
So like you are more knowledgeable than I am in many fields. I can hunt spell scarred, but the intimate details of what they might do to survive, I am uncertain of.
Getting the last of them is always trouble.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if they have organized, that is dangerous enough to act. Let us try this out. I will inform the Enclave that they should follow your leadership in dealing with this cult. You can show them what you're capable of. You've shown that you're against this cult, certainly. There might be some dissidents, but that is nothing new.
Sylvanus himself has many under his leadership, and There are always disagreements about how best to serve nature. It is no different in that regard.
Sure. Cindermoon nods.
And yet it is integral that nature itself unite to cast out this invader. And so we
It
must
will.
act.
It will because it has to. There's no choice. They'll see that eventually. I can just hope it's not too late.
Yes. By your leave, then, Cindermoon. Good hunting?
She nods, says, yes, I will try to keep this thing on its toes.
Yeah.
If it manages to do whatever it is it wants to do, well, I'm sure we'll be all worse off. It seems to be not willing to stand against me directly either.
And the Zuri leader here nods and sort of like as she did the first time, like politely edge away from Cindermoon, who doesn't give a fuck, and then just leave.
Yes, and it's like completely.
Yep.
That's probably the biggest statement of her power, right? Is that she's entirely untouched by any sort of dragon fear.
Yeah.
There's-
I mean, Zuri's not on the whole at any price level that Cindermoon's on, but
Yeah.
yeah. Blue Flame bad.
Mhm.
I think that could be a cudgel she used to try and bash the Emerald Enclave upside the head.
Yeah. Cindermoon's priorities are very clear.
All right. Yeah. Think trying to meet with the sub-leaders of the Emerald Enclave there is the next step. And like try to put like the stamp down that like I helped purge Starmantle that kept all the druids in the Gulfmere so occupied. We can't let more blue flames spring up around the Gulfmere again. Spell scars. We saw what happened to the spell plague and how they can consume the world. This can't happen again. You can't let that happen.
Yeah, it might be time for an actual conclave to have a discussion about this, and certainly when it is heard that Cindermoon says, "Oh yeah, follow the dragon's lead on this." Yeah, there's going to be a need.
uh, does a dragon get to come to the conclave?
Yeah, of course.
All right, yeah.
Deathland have things that they want to do, but I think given the current state of the land here, they're just gonna have to try to get through this. Beyond that, they're having quite a bit of internal turmoil. Turns out Shah is not a goddess that is particularly disliked by them. The Shadow Moon monks certainly have always revered Shah as their primary deity, and so Nathlan is less united than it used to be. Yeah, they don't like outsiders, but now there's also some internal strife as to what exactly this city should focus on. It seems like Nobanian is not exactly what they want, yet maybe it is. It also seems like Shah is not exactly what they want, but some people like it. And what of all these dragons the rumors talk about? They tried reaching out, received little answer in the past, but who knows? Maybe that's the way forward. As it does, though, the city always seems to stick together when it comes to outsiders. So it is for now. For now, they'll just try to deal with this crisis of hunting. Animal husbandry is hard, and, well, they're adapting badly to it. If anything, they will begin an investigation into what exactly is causing this. Because at this point, it's clearly not natural. Goats do not break down the barn and tear down the house and reclaim the land. That is not how it's supposed to be. Nor do they outrun horses normally.
Who could fathom such a thing?
The cult of Napoleon has broken. Some joined the Emerald Enclave, and some formed the Flame Cult of Napoleon. which has relocated and is currently spending their turn doing that, relocating basically. Red Mercenary Guild got conquered, so they don't really exist anymore. Yeah, I think that has brought us around to everyone.
Okay. Good work, team. This is what happens when the dragons are active.
Yeah, with no other questions though, I think here at the end of the year, we could just move Suitor's Hold over here for now. Probably in the south bit here.
Makes
Because
sense.
they in fact really do enjoy the idea of moving, and they will. Actually, like Hesiphase layers over there. That makes a good convenient location that
Yeah.
we've been for that they can.
Yeah. These mountains are cursed. Maybe these mountains are better.
Yeah, there's not full of. Well, there's some other stuff under them, but not the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say these ones are like the worst, the actual
Yeah.
worst place.
Yeah. I do enjoy the visual of Nathland as it's struggling to like investigate what the hell has happened for like this migration of like tribes and fire giants.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, they don't. They don't. They don't want to deal with giants. Certainly watched as they go, but Nathlan has heard of Eggless Spark, and they don't want to deal with an organized dragon who loves military and sort of tactics. That's
That's Termish's problem.
you don't want to deal with that. And yeah, that is Termish's problem someday. Beyond that, the Goblin Cracks, of course, still has goblins in them. The southern tribes still have some people. Not everyone is brought along. That's the nature of what they are. And Oshvact is, for the first time, really in a very, very long time, abandoned. Leaving the southern mountains just mostly empty of any big factions.
I was gonna say, the Cicatrix is gonna reach out to Valignif and, suggest that they could go take a look at one point. Because they might be able to learn something to try gain new knowledge to recreate the giant runes, since there will now be a circle that is unbroken. Available.
Sure, Wellington would be up for that, although we'll say that he doesn't speak giant. And he's not entirely sure how much help he can be.
Well, so far he has looked at the other runes and tried to recreate them, right?
That's true.
Now there is full runes. Should really not. Like, to think to imagine the welder right there. Chop chop.
It's a compelling argument.
They're unbroken, and please do keep them that way. And
But what about my vow to destroy all?
Yeah, I mean,
no,
You wouldn't have Valignith go back on his word, would you?
how could we learn the
He-
truth of the
He
runes?
didn't put a time limit on that, so that's fine.
Entropy
true.
will do it for him.
Yeah.
Sure, we talked about this when you got visited by the Shade in prison.
Yeah.
So I suppose the Cicatrix and Velinif will go take a look.
Sure. The room is fairly spacious, carved out of stone, quickly built of stone blocks. The bottom of it is sort of an uneven, just sort of rocky cliff, and then sort of has the stone built on top of it to make it just a small room, clearly built for the purpose of having these ruins in a secluded and sort of out of the way place. You give me like a religion check, I think that's probably fitting.
I can do that.
Can I do an Arcana check, or is it not at all?
Kind of works.
That's terrible.
Like, isn't really sure how he could recreate these. They seem to be meant to resonate with probably other pairs of runes somewhere. So they're not really complete just in and of themselves, but it's a neat script. Clearly very magical.
Oh wow!
We're so competent.
Yeah, you look at them, you're not sure. They must draw power from somewhere or something, or they would have burned out during the spell plague.
Well, they told me that these things had been all around the center. I suspect, actually, that they might have all been one big circle to contain the so-called Death King in it. They talked about a banished enemy that they won over. Victors didn't understand why they would need these religious symbols, but I think, well, not that it matters anymore, I suppose, since clearly he is already doing things.
He is doing things, but he's not conquering the surface yet, so maybe the runes still do have some power. Perhaps if we recreated the rest of them, we might solve the problem, at least as long as the runes are being kept and maintained.
True. Well, either way, we need them to, well, help us with containing the future They liches. If we can then keep out this maniac long enough for our business in this area to be concluded, that would certainly be preferable.
I agree, we'll have to figure out how they work.
I will try and scout out the other places now that the fire giants have left. I figured we could both take more presence in the mountains, though I suppose they are closer to me. I don't know what kind of arrangement you have with wolves, but I assume they don't want you flying too much over here. Still.
The dwarves have no authority to tell me where I can and cannot go.
Of course. It might be easier to understand whatever fragments we have already looked at now that, with the perspective of it being even the pieces we have seen are just piece of another bigger puzzle. I really would have wished that Victus could have told me more. I might look if I can. Surely there's some kind of ritual, or I guess the Ugmites could make it easier to understand. Instead of staring at them as colored lines.
Do you think that there might be giants in other mountain ranges who might know anything about how this works?
I don't. Well, perhaps. But this was supposed to be their holy place. Mountains are called giant run mountain. And if their big hierarchy mentions some Storm King was here, if they were interested in this stuff and believed in the religion, well, they should be here. Maybe the leftover cloud giant, but if they're still alive, I don't see how we could make them cooperate. Well, as she gets a, I mean, I suppose there are ways. To flex her sharp claws.
Perhaps that is an approach worth pursuing. I'm not entirely sure how much I can contribute to this particular project. The Feyen Lich so far is contained. Will be for a little while longer, I'm sure, so that's not the priority. However, it would be good to perhaps use these to, in fact, fight the threat from below, as I really don't want to have to be concerned with it.
And if it truly is some grand ritual, big circle as I suspect, and as they at least said, I mean, maybe other beings powerful could be trapped there as well.
That is not a bad thought.
That would, of course, mean that we would have to learn how to create these. I will start trying to find other sites of this, and, well, even though I have little knowledge of it as yet, at least I should be able to see if the runes are the same place or if they have different signs.
I could send some of my people to investigate this particular place in more detail. Maybe there's things we missed.
Do tell them to be careful. I think this is probably the most intact scene since the giants, well, the cave of the giants, were here to protect it.
Close examination revealed the runes were certainly there. I mean, the place is it's easily holdable as a fort. Beyond that, though, there's a lot of tunnels under it that sort of lead into the longer, thick sort of central mountain range. They also seem to combine somewhat to the cracks over here, but beyond that, they lead further in and certainly also lead up to what used to be the court up there. It's quite clear that the giant sort of realm here was held together mostly by these underground tunnels. Some of them so narrow that it really is just like a almost like just like a baseball sized round hole, which probably works more as a guideline for things that can glide through the earth. They can follow that to get to where they need to be. That said, the tunnels do let one move from the tower into the goblin cracks, and from the goblin cracks and towards the now blown up bits of the.
I was gonna say, do these tunnels look new or are they very
They
old?
were very old. Yeah, they were definitely made for it. There's further barracks down here in the tunnels that are just unused. Clearly show that there was room for a bigger population than they currently had. Some
Well,
of these tunnels lead to deep shafts that seem to go far, far down. If explored, they will reveal nobuled crystal caverns below, though they appear empty at the moment. Yeah, basically like big geodes inside the mountain that have been broken slightly open to allow for entrance.
is there anything of interest down there?
Crystals. Also, little stony figurines put around in some of them. Probably of religious maker use.
Yeah, well, for Masigatrix, that's like, oh, Crystal, what are the, I'm gonna explore this a little more before I touch any of this.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah, the giants took with them pretty much everything of value here.
well, I have the one thing I wanted, of value from them. I have much knowledge. Masigatrix will look at the tunnels, like, leading from the fucking basement of the tower, and thinking to herself, maybe they should have cared a little more about this religious site, as there's a big, like, network of tunnels right into their base.
Yeah.
And then she will go home and check her own fort to make sure that there are no small tunnels to have around.
That fort seems to originally be built by humans who don't like tunnels so.
Yes, well, I mean, she has dug into the underground a little bit.
She finds like
Swamp.
a couple people
Yes.
been out hunting, trying to catch some of these. There's not, the beasts here are a little bit bigger and stronger than usual, but it's not really as noticeable. But every now and then, like a predator of some kind that is just like a dire wolf or something has approached, and they're cursing it because it's been eating all the deer and making hunting here difficult. At least the eels are fine.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I told you, seafood-based, diet.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
way of the world.
They've lost a couple people over the last year, though. Just went out hunting and never came back. Mostly towards the west when they hunt there. So they've kind of stopped going that way, which also means that they hunt to the south, which is where the dire wolf came from.
Yeah, well, seems like some of the mountains are freer now.
Yeah, they can continue to try. Send people in there. They can find some good hunting paths. I hear that there were a lot of goats in the valley at some point.
Yeah, don't go in the valley. Yeah, not that one. Yeah. Right.
All right.
God, we need to roll better.
They were not glamorous roles now.
No. 4, 6.
Mhm.
It's alright. We'll try again.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah. I hope everyone had a fun time. Back with the dragons.
Yeah.
So weird.
I hope there's no other factions you want to do things with, she. You might need to have some time with Manikai alone. Oh.
Maybe.
Well, it's good to get to talk to people sometimes.
Yeah.
Beyond the.
But I thought it was good as well. Certainly got to see the personalities of the dragons at work in their approaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we filled out some goals.
We got some ideas of how we might want to approach things in the future.
Yeah.
But perhaps the nation of Thay is going to punish this region and Westgate in specific for diplomats being murdered. That seems like a bad look.
You shouldn't do it. Just shouldn't do it. It's a great disrespect. But what are you gonna expect with the Coldaceric? Just people running the show.
Though it absolutely does make perfect sense why Thay and Bane would be close-knit.
Mm-hmm. They are elsewhere in the world. Just that Bane's disappeared here very quickly. Unexpectedly quickly, I'd say.
Yeah. The looming specter.
Tell, right?
Looming specter up north. What could happen?
Yeah, and still no contact to Severius.
True. Didn't have to worry about him at all this year. I'm sure it'll be fine. We're cicatrix.
No, I have a plan, but I figured that I don't know.
The longer you wait, the better the plan will be.
Well, you don't want to seem too eager, no? Then he'll just have you work more.
Yeah, it's only been 11 years since he requested an audience.
No, it was not the first year we started sleeping.
He requested the audience before our curse.
Oh, he did?
Been a while.
Well, next session.
Right.
All right, viewers. Next session it is.
For more dragons off the Dragon Coast.
Yeah, but as was conveyed to us in the document we received, we're not the Dreads. That was 2 years ago we got that document. As it turns out, looking around us, we're still not the Dreads.
I want to be, though.
Yeah. Situationally, we could be the Dreads. Just ask Elversalt.
To some people.
Yeah, but those people are insignificant. So,
Elversalt 2.0 could be removed.
like,
Third
care
edition.
about us.
Right? I appreciate the way you put that. Which I appreciated the way of, like, it's not a threat. It's kind of a threat. So the Ogmites.
I mean, is it a threat if it is the natural consequence of their actions as they have currently decided them?
If you are the one arbitrating whether that is the natural consequence, then probably, yeah.
And a direct action like that would force me to take action, much in the same way that violating Valignus' word would force Valignus to take action. And Missouri has never said, oh, they're not protected.
They don't feel very protected when he just shows up and there's no other drag. Usually she would come and scare him off.
Yeah. But
But
she did
again,
tell them.
It's like a generation ago at this point, so.
Yeah. And she did tell them,
Dragon problem.
but before the curse that she was moving. Yeah. And that, they'd have to come to her and, like, bring something up.
I did not foresee Victus moving in with Anglus. It totally makes sense, but...
It does. You found a home for those sheep.
I did, and they got out of my mountains, which is great.
I did enjoy the twist of, like, now the fire giants are, like, desperate enough to, like, be okay with beating up Thunderhome, but now Valignus doesn't want Thunderhome to be beaten up by giants.
Right.
This whole situation, I'm pretty sure the mountains would be the most peaceful, homogeneous place in the world if I just conquered Thunderhome instead. Like, it would be all peace and quiet and nobody fighting because they would all be united. But no.
Right. The undead stone giant down there might start some shit, but if you ruled everything...
Yeah.
Peace and prosperity in my new empire.
So really, as we end this session, it's important for the viewers to understand that Valignus, for all of his dislike of complicated, is the one who made the complicated.
Yeah, he did.
Valignus tries to be good.
No, he doesn't.
I wouldn't go so far.
Well, but still, he tries to have people want to work with him rather than force them to.
That's true.
He does.
Which he has gone to great lengths to do. I mean,
I think the thing is, he doesn't go to people and say, submit or die. He says, profit with me or die. You know, it's
join my sort of...
It's cake or death, basically.
Yeah. I do appreciate that, Valignus like, surely they know my reputation. My promise means something. And the Ogmites are like, yes, we do know your reputation.
And that means something.
No, it meant them having their highest words and protections. I also appreciate them being like, Hey, let's have a Missouri at the meeting. Unacceptable, the Dwarven messenger says. You can see him like they're like getting advice beforehand. Here's what not to accept.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, he knows. It has been clarified to him that that is not acceptable at all.
They might try suggesting that to you. You will not refuse that. If you come back to me and say that's what they want, you will not come back to me.
Probably vindictive. He probably didn't even give instructions. Probably like, yeah, arrange an acceptable meeting. And then allowed the guy to be the judge of what that was.
Probably.
I don't. Maybe, but he's also seen how Dwarven ambassadors like operate at this point, having
Yeah.
received so many from Thunderhome.
There were some instructions, I assume, but no detailed ones.
Of course not. It's like,
Like,
if you don't know what I want, then I did.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't disappoint me. Profit
Right.
with me.
That's why you brought
They all have improved initiative, but not in the way that you think.
I'm also looking forward to a little bit of strife in the next session, because there's certainly a different interpretation between what I want with editing Signs of Yaffle, the diviner, figure of that, and what Valignith wants, which is to erase Yaffle signs.
Yeah.
How do I influence a group of people that's within the Dragon Fang?
Just choose the Cult of the Dragon people. They
I-
already love you.
No, he's already fully ate them. I can't
They're gone.
yeah.
Anyways, I
Ja-
will go
yes.
to bed.
Goodbye, everyone.
Well.
Goodbye.
Feel better, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for playing, and good night.